Good evening and welcome to the March 1st, 2023 Conservation Commission meeting. Chuck, why don't you start us off with administrative?
Yep, so consistent with Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting will be conducted by remote participation. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time and participate when necessary. And as always, continue to check the city's calendar and the agendas for the updated Zoom links for future meetings, as well as the call-in phone information.
Okay, thank you. Shall we have roll call of commissioners present?
Yes, Member Charpentier.
Here.
Member Cook.
Here.
Member Gradwell.
Here.
Member Sargent.
Here.
Member Sherman.
You're muted, Bob.
Yeah.
Member Gullo will be hopefully joining us later, and Member Jackson.
Here.
All right.
And first up on the agenda is the administrative briefing. Do you have anything in addition to add, Chuck?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that the flood zone changes did pass in City Hall last night. They will not go into effect until June 1st. So folks will have to have completed with COMCOM and have their building permit by June 1st to be grandfathered in under the previous regulations. So we'll see if that means a flush of new projects in V-Zone, which will be.
So if somebody is only in process with us, continued meeting to continued meeting as of June 1st, the new regs kick in?
Yes.
Okay, good to know.
Chuck, was there any discussion at that meeting about land subject to coastal storm flowage?
Yes, that's what it is. It's the V zone or the A zone of that flood zone. So it's depending if it falls in the A zone or the V zone will determine what can and cannot happen at those properties.
But that's just for the properties that are in the V zones and the VB zones.
The V zone and the A zone, yes. So it's different. So there'll be no new construction in the V zone, the velocity zone, and then the A zone will have some limitations to it. Yeah.
Okay. Anything about like the lands along, say, Thatcher Road that are subject to coastal storm flowage and stuff like that? Anything about those types of properties?
Yeah, so if they're in the flood zone, they're either going to be an A zone or V zone. So depending on which zone they're in, so there is some velocity zone, there is some of the A zone, which is the non-velocity zone. So it'll be different depending on what zone they're in. But yes, anything that's in the flood zone will be affected. Yeah.
Okay, I've been trying to understand that. And like I said, along the properties, say along Thatcher Road, where it's mostly marsh area, but it's going to be subject to coastal storm flowage.
Mhm.
I've always, I've been an advocate for the last few years about putting stuff on pilings and not allowing, foundations with scuppers and stuff like that. But there's been no change to the rules as far as that goes.
There's nothing in what's been proposed or now in effect that's going to require them to put stuff on piers or piles. It's going to limit the amount of area that the footprint can have within that flood zone. So there's still nothing as far as what can and can't be built in that area. It's more of a
As a percentage of the property.
percentage that's in that flood zone. Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Okay, unless there's further discussion of that, we'll move on to minutes review and approval. Are we ready to move forward on the February 1st, 2023 minutes? Linda, I'll be counting on you for motions.
Sorry, your 15th.
Yeah, the 15th.
Public comment.
I'm sorry, typo. Yeah,
Okay.
15. Yes.
Charpentier moves to approve the minutes of the commission from the meeting of February 15th as amended.
And Gradwell seconds.
Roll call, member Charpentier,
Yes,
member Cook,
yes,
member Gradwell,
Yes,
member Sergeant,
Yes.
member Sherman,
Yes.
and member Jackson.
Yes.
I
Okay,
think,
moving on.
I think Bill is
Go ahead.
catching up there. We did skip the public comment section.
You're right. At this time, we'll open up the meeting for public comment. This provides the public with an opportunity to comment on environmental issues that are not on the agenda. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to do so?
We have 33 attendees present, and I'm not seeing any hands up at this time.
Okay, then I'll close the public comment period. We've already done minutes. We'll move on to continued business. First up is NOI 0282827 at 105 Wingersheek Road, lots A and B, 125 Wingersheek LLC, represented by Joel Favaza, Seaside Legal Solutions. This hearing was previously continued to the meeting of March 15th, 2023. Next, NOI 0282884, 284 Atlantic Road, Stephen Klaus, construction of a retaining wall in existing yard and removal of a deteriorated fieldstone wall in Coastal Beach, and land subject to coastal storm flowage, represented by Mark Georgian, First Water Engineering LLC. They have requested to continue to the meeting of April 5th, 2023.
do we need to
Linda?
move that? Yep.
Yes.
Charpentier moves to continue NOI 0282884 at 284 Atlantic Road to the commission meeting of April 5th, 2023.
and Gradwell seconds.
Roll call, member Charpentier,
Yes,
member Cook,
yes,
member Gradwell,
Yes,
member Sergeant,
Yes.
member Sherman,
Yes.
and member Jackson.
Yes. Okay, next up, we have NOI 0282900 at 337 Concord Street, Jeffrey Roberts, construction of a farm pond for irrigation and fire protection within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland and ACEC, represented by Anthony Capichetti, Hayes Engineering, Inc. Do we have a representative present?
okay, Bill Cook's gonna recuse from this one because I didn't review the last minutes, the last meeting.
Okay,
Okay, Mr. Capichetti informed me earlier today that he was going to be a little late this evening. He does have another item on the agenda later on in the meeting, so I told him that we would postpone hearing of this particular one until later, if that's okay with you guys.
yeah, that's fine. Okay. We'll move on to amendment for NOI 0282753 at 227 Atlantic Road, Anthony Gagliardi, an amendment to include updated power service route in bordering vegetated wetlands and buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands. Represented by Michael Seecamp Environmental Consulting, Inc. And they have requested to withdraw their amendment. So Linda, would you like to move that?
Charpentier moves to withdraw AMD NOI 0282753 at 227 Atlantic Road.
Gradwell seconds.
Roll call, member Charpentier,
Yes,
member Cook, are you back?
Yes,
All right, so member Gradwell,
Yes,
member Sergeant,
Yes.
member Sherman,
Yes.
and member Jackson.
Yes. Okay, next up, NOI 0282901, 27 and 29 Dennison Street, Jonathan Katz, conversion of existing garage to accessory dwelling unit and additions to single-family home and riverfront area buffer zone to coastal resource area and land subject to coastal storm flowage, represented by John Judd of Gateway Consultants, Inc.
I think that's actually a typo. It should be Joel Favaza.
Oh, that's right, Joel Favaza. I've got it on my notes, but not on my,
Yeah,
represented by Joel Favaza, Seaside Legal.
and Bill Cook is gonna recuse from this one.
Okay,
Good evening. Thanks for having me back. Give me one brief moment. I will share my screen and we can get this moving along. Okay, there we go. Thanks for your patience. For the record, once again, my name is Joel Favaza. I'm an attorney at Seaside Legal Solutions with an address of 123 Main Street in Gloucester. I'm here again tonight on behalf of Jonathan Katz and Nora Wiley. They are the trustee owners of 27 and 29 Denison Street. They're also the actual residents of 27 and 29 Denison Street. By way of a brief recap, we're looking to construct a single-story bath addition to the left side of an existing house, a single-story bedroom addition to the right side of the house, extend an open-air deck, and convert an existing garage into an ADU. The purpose here is that my clients are just cruising into their early 70s and are hoping to be able to retire here in a full-time basis. So that is why they need a bedroom and a bathroom retrofit on the first floor. And then that garage to an ADU is to allow their adult children and their grandchildren to have space to stay when they come to visit. This was the plan we saw last time. I won't go over that because I have better plans to go over tonight. But as you recall, the bedroom addition, bathroom addition, and deck extension, basically everything that was happening on the main house was in the land subject to coastal storm flowage and was in the coastal bank resource area. The ADU work was half in the resource area and half in the buffer zone, and the entire site is riverfront area. So at the last meeting, you requested more detail regarding the existing footprint. You also noted that you wanted hardier mitigation measures than what we were already proposing. And so we're going to go through that next. First, kind of dry, but it's a good way to start. We have a little chart here, and I'll get my little laser or pen out. So if you see right here, we have across the entire site, let me just cross the number out, we have 2,145 square feet of what would be disturbance in the riverfront, because this is the impervious area of the house, the impervious area of the garage, and their deck. And there's actually some impervious paths that we didn't even factor into this map, but would actually make this number larger than the 2,145. But 2,145 is sufficient because all we're proposing is a total of 211 square feet of additional work, and that is less than 10% of what is already disturbed in the riverfront area. That's broken down by 53 square feet for the house, 118 square feet for the garage. So it's 161 feet of impervious area added. And then we have 50 square feet of pervious, but open air deck. So it's an impact, I believe, in the riverfront because it's still building something, but it's not impervious surface being constructed. Then if you look at we start talking about the resource areas outside of the riverfront, meaning the coastal bank. Again, we have a total of 667 square feet of impervious surface in the resource area. So in the buffer zone rather, and we're adding 58 square feet in the buffer zone. There's already 1,313 square feet in the resource area, and we're adding 103 in the resource area. And that brings us to a total of 163 square feet of impervious. I'm sorry, 161 square feet of impervious, which we saw up here a moment ago. So we got the mitigation. We are proposing to take out 110 square feet of a impervious path. It's got a bunch of slate pavers on it, and replace that with a pervious pea stone. We're looking to remove additional brush on the side of the garage and replace that with native plantings. And we're looking to remove 268 square feet of turf lawn and replace that with native plantings also. I'll go through how that looks in a moment. But basically the theme here is that I think we went from providing less than you'd hoped for to providing more than would be required under local or state regs. And we'll kind of go through that now. So just to make sure everyone understands, everything that's in blue is impervious area on the site today. That's the house and the garage. So everything you see there is that 1,980 square feet of structure impervious that we'd seen previously. Then the orange, so we got a little bit of orange right here and a little bit of orange right here. That's the increase to the impervious area on the locus. And that's where that 161 we talked about goes. So it's more ADU than it is the house. Again, this little addition on this side of the house is already impervious. It's just like a covered porch and becoming, fully interior space. The only part of the house that's actually poking out further is right here on the right-hand side. So then we go on and we talk about the deck, because again, we are in the riverfront. So we have this open air deck that is not covered. And we have this deck extension. So this is in blue. And then we have this deck extension in orange, which again will also be open air deck. And this again is work in the riverfront, but it is not impervious surface. It is, stormwater can penetrate through and down to the ground below, which is remaining in a natural state underneath. And then to look at it a different way, we've split it up between what's in the resource area. So everything that's in blue is in the coastal bank resource area. Again, nothing is in the salt marsh, nothing is in the coastal beach, nothing is in the intertidal zone. The only resource area that has improvements in it is the coastal bank itself. Everything in blue here is the portions of the structures that exist that are in the resource area. Everything in orange here, as you can see, it's the back part of the proposed ADU and that little extension we talked about on the right side of the house. These will be additional impervious areas in a resource area. But again, as we talked last time, it being a coastal bank resource area, you're allowed to do work in a coastal bank if you can prove that the work being done is not going to destabilize the bank or otherwise prevent its ability to function as a storm barrier. And I think we kind of talked at length last time about how, very clearly these small additions are, if anything, going to help stabilize the bank further rather than destabilize, because it's all going to be concrete piers, pinned down onto the existing bank and then held in place by the structure itself. And then we have in blue on this slide what's existing buffer zone construction, and in orange, the only new buffer zone construction is this portion of the ADU. So to go into the standards that are applicable, we have the riverfront standards. And again, you are typically not allowed to alter more than 10%. If you do propose sufficient mitigation, then you can go beyond the 10%. This is a more detailed version of that. So the point at the beginning, we're actually less than 10%. So we're not required to provide necessary mitigation, or at least not the 2-to-1 mitigation that's required for a greater than 10%. Nevertheless, we are going to provide slightly over a 2-to-1 mitigation despite being under the 10%. So again, if we were under 10%, we don't need to do 2-to-1, but in the spirit of cooperation with the Conservation Commission, we thought we would try and make it work anyway. So what are we going to do? Well, if you look on the left side, we have this blue path right here. This is, again, impervious slate pavers. Those will come up and a loose pea stone path will replace it to add some as impervious area. Then we have everything that is in green on the right-hand side of the house. That's existing turf lawn that will be converted to native plantings. You see these yellow stripes kind of traveling from the front of the house over the ADU, down that way toward the garden. Those are portions of turf lawn that will likely remain as some sort of natural path. If we densely plant the entirety of the turf lawn, you will no longer be able to access the house or the garage or the deck itself. So we have to have a path cutting through, but nevertheless, even with that path cutting through, there's still 268 square feet of native plantings, in addition to the 110 for the path. And then we can squeeze in about another 50 square feet on the right-hand side of this garage, where there's some, scrub brush right now, and then some arborvitaes are beyond that. The only other thing I want to kind of point out is you may be saying, well, Joel, what's going on with all this up here? Why aren't you doing anything here? As we kind of discussed last time, my clients made the mistake of doing the right thing first. And so they've actually already gone and taken what once was a bunch of turf lawn in the front of the house and already planted it pretty heavily. Same thing with the impervious driveway surfaces that they, proactively removed and replaced with pervious driveway surfaces. As one of the commissioners was quick to point out last time, you don't get credit for work you've already done. Unfortunately for my clients, because they've already done so much work, enhancing the ecological value of this property, it was a real hard time to figure out what was left to make better. But we did in fact find 428 square feet of area to improve upon, which again is more than a 2-to-1 ratio. And again, that 2-to-1 ratio is not actually required as we are under the 10% threshold in the riverfront. So this is just further closer views of the plan if anyone has any questions. This is a shot of the walkway that's being removed. As you can see, it's slate pavers packed closely together. Those will all come up. This is a shot of the turf lawn in much nicer weather. That, except for the paths that we showed, kind of leading down to this gate we see here and leading over to the garage, all this turf lawn will become native plantings. And then it's hard to see, it's hard to get a good structure, but the junk inside here is where we get that other 50 feet. Again, you can sort of see hints this way of what's already been done on the property. And so they'll clean this up as best as possible. Again, they will also clean up this area, but this is outside the property bounds. And so we didn't want to count that in our official count because it's technically within the right of way, but they will clean that up also. It's a little hard to see in the wintertime, but you can see what's survived that. Again, we have the front of the house over here, we have the road over here. This is what I was talking about, that what used to be front lawn is now already pretty heavily planted with some nice vegetation. So that really kind of hamstrung us in finding good places to convert less productive portions into more productive portions. And then again, this is a shot of the coastal bank. This is behind the garage. As you can see, you don't really want to be mitigating too deep into the coastal bank. And so we're trying to keep everything up closer to the house as a result. So again, like I said, we're at 428 square feet of mitigation. That includes 110 square feet of path conversion, and then 318 square feet of native plantings. But of course, we are below the 10% threshold for mitigation in the riverfront. And because the work in the buffer zone is considerably less, a 2-to-1 ratio for the buffer zone work is considerably lower than that 422 target we were shooting for. I will end my screen share and turn it back over to you for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Favazza. I'll open this project up for public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on the project going on for NOI 0282901 at 27 and 29 Denison Street?
We currently have 40 attendees and I'm not seeing any hands up.
Okay, I'll close the public comment period. Let's go on to commissioners.
All right, roll call. Member Charpentier.
I just want to say thank you, Joel, for the updated drawings and a very clear and excellent presentation. Much better than the last time and made everything quite clear. Thanks.
Member Cook.
He's recused.
Oh, that's right. Member Gradwell.
Okay,
No further questions. I think you did a nice job on explaining everything.
Member Sargent. You're muted.
I muted myself for my wife, but I'm having a hard time with it, considering mitigation for the footpath by changing the slate over to pea stone. I'm not sure that really helps the interests of the Wetland Protection Act and the riverfront area.
Member Sherman.
As I mentioned in the last hearing, elimination of the lawn would be favorable, but with the path that is leading through what is now the lawn area, I just can't imagine what would be planted to the left of that continuing lawn, where it would have to be, if you put native plantings to the left of that path and also to the right, and it also would have to be maintained wide enough for people to get through. I can't imagine what would be put on the left side of that path going down towards the water that would survive in such a narrow space. So I think that the removal of the lawn is largely offset by that continuing lawn. I realize that they would need access to the garage, but I think that is largely offset by the path. And these tiny fragments of native plantings are, I guess, minimal.
Member Jackson?
I have no further comments. What about you, Chuck? Do you have any comments on this?
I think there's still some confusion about this 10%. It's not that you're allowed to increase the impacts by 10% of what's already there. It's that there's already over 10% of the riverfront area that's already disturbed by the existing house. So anything that you do beyond that 10% has to be mitigated for. So it's not, you know, I've got a 5,000 square foot house, I can add 500 square feet of disturbance. So there's a little bit of confusion there. I tend to agree with Commissioner Sargent that, you know, while having pea gravel instead of the impervious pavers definitely helps with water infiltration. But in the riverfront, it largely is based on providing wildlife habitat. So I don't know that pea stone offers much more habitat than a paver does for wildlife. So I don't know that that necessarily would count towards that mitigation. But.
Okay.
I guess I'm wondering, see if there's some way to move that garden behind the garage closer to the road and maybe put, you know, there'd be a nice chunk of space there that you could put some native plants right up against the resource there. I don't know if that's an option.
Mr. Favazza, would you care to respond?
Yeah, thank you. I'm just pulling up 310 CMR 1058. And so my understanding was that a redevelopment, you took what was there, but I'm actually reading now. Looks like within 200 feet of riverfront areas, the issuing authority may allow the alteration of up to 5,000 square feet or 10% of riverfront area from the lot, whichever is greater, on a lot recorded prior to October 6, 1997. So I'll just talk about a 10% riverfront area from the lot itself. So I think if you go by the lot itself, it is 10%. Seeing as these lots are, you know, on a legal side go all the way down to low tide, I don't know that we're still over that limit anyway. So I don't know if we're going by the other definition we trigger it. As to the idea about the path, again, you know, while we can't, I suppose, count numerically, those already been done on site. I still think if you take the totality of what is out there, the totality of what is being proposed, again, some of these what look like little slivers in the plans, I think, are butting up against areas that are already planted, and so it's almost like expanding existing planted areas. And I just feel like, you know, if you look at what is practicable on this site, the expansions to the garage and the house are very minimal, and what is being offered here tonight is really like squeezing every last drop they can out of, you know, what they haven't already done to the site. Again, as I mentioned, you know, no good deed goes unpunished. Had they just left all that asphalt in their front yard, and had they just left all that turf lawn, we could, you know, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1 ratio this, you know, no problem, right? We kind of sail right through. But because they made the quote unquote mistake of not using ecological improvements as leverage for this board, they're at risk of being punished for doing that first. And so that be, again, there's local discretion for a reason in these regulations, and I think that would be a consideration you might want to take. As to Mr. Shade's point about the garden behind the garage, while it will be slightly impacted by the garage expansion, this whole idea that we're trying not to destabilize the bank, the garden was there prior to my clients taking ownership, I believe. And again, we were trying to avoid kind of being down on that rocky bank and pulling things out and, you know, putting new things in. And so the degree that we just kind of leave that garden where it is, we kind of thought was going to be preferential. Now, if the commission looks at this and says, hey, listen, Joel, the only way to get out of here with an order is if that, you know, garden moves somewhere else and we can swap space for where we were going to plant things with where the garden would relocate and relocate proposed plantings where the garden is now. You know, obviously it's important if my clients to get this done, to listen to it. But again, speaking truly ecologically, we thought it wasn't the best idea to go and pull up that garden that's, you know, kind of built into the bank.
Okay. We do have some leeway. What would you say the ratio is if you don't count the slate to pea stone path? What would be the mitigation ratio?
Sure. So we are in the riverfront total.
Yes.
Okay. Riverfront total, we're at 211. And without the pea stone, we are at 318. 318 divided by 211 is a 1.507, et cetera. So a 1.5 to 1 ratio,
Yeah.
not counting the path conversion.
Okay. I am inclined, I do think that you've done a good job clarifying the application. I am inclined to kind of give credit for the work that was already done. What about other commissioners? How are other people feeling on that? Can we just do a quick take?
Yeah, Member Charpentier.
CFP?
No, they said they already did a lot of work. I think they should get the credit for that.
Member Cook and recused. Member Bedwell.
Redwell agrees with Charpentier and Jackson. Thank you.
Member Sargent.
Yes, with a 2-year monitoring for mortality of mitigation plantings.
Member Sherman. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. I apologize. I had to step away for just a moment, so I'm not sure what you're asking at this point.
I was talking about the fact that they've done a good job clarifying the application and providing what they felt was appropriate mitigation, and that we do have some leeway, that I would be somewhat inclined to give some credit for the work that they did. If you don't count the slate to pea stone path conversion, they're at a mitigation for a riverfront area of about 1.5 to 1.
Okay, so what's your question?
So the question is, are you okay considering the work that they've already done as being included in the mitigation, I guess?
For this particular site, I would say yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yes.
And Member Jackson, I guess we already know you're.
Yeah, okay. Then I think it doesn't look like anybody has any additional information that is required for this project. I will entertain a motion if people feel they can move forward to close the public hearing.
Charpentier moves to close the public hearing for NOI 028-901 at 27 and 29 Dennison Street.
Gradwell seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes,
Member Gradwell.
Yes,
Member Sargent.
Yes,
Member Sherman.
Yes,
And Member Jackson.
Yes. And you want to make a motion, Linda?
sure. Charpentier moves to approve NOI 028-901 at 27 and 29 Dennison Street with the aforementioned conditions of mitigation, plantings, and mortality.
Gradwell seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes,
Member Gradwell.
Yes,
Member Sergeant,
Yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes,
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Favazza.
Thank you. Did the alternative analysis get accepted at the last hearing, last meeting?
yes.
We usually
Okay.
do that at the meeting that is brought up.
I
So you should be
genuinely
all
couldn't remember
set.
and didn't have to come back. Thank you.
I don't blame you.
Bye, guys.
All right, thank you.
Good night.
Okay, moving on to NOI 0282903 at 53 Wingersheek Road. Richard Schaefer for construction of a garage to a single-family home and gravel driveway in buffer zone to coastal resource area and land subject to coastal storm flowage, represented by Kristen Farr, Hancock Associates. Do we have a representative?
Chair, I've rejoined the commission or joined the commission.
Oh, excellent, Rob. Thank you. We're just starting on 53 Wingersheek Road.
Good.
Okay, you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
Hi. Kristen Farr with Hancock Associates. And we have a plan for the mitigation area that was requested. I just emailed Chuck a little while ago with a plan with a little more detail on it. I'm wondering if you can bring that one up, Chuck.
Just one moment.
Okay. But what we were asked to do is provide mitigation for the garage. Chuck had called me and said that the mitigation is 1-to-1, not 3-to-1, but so that's what we provided. We decided on the area that is adjacent to the driveway, and we'll include a little bit of grading, so that area might be a little bit destabilized.
That's the correct plan.
Yeah, that's good enough. So what we're planning to do is provide 570-ish square feet of plantings in this area on this part of the driveway hill there. This area is somewhat vegetated, but not completely. So we thought that if the slope was slightly destabilized there with the grading, that we could shore it up with 10 beach plums and 10 bearberries, and then 350 American beach grass plugs, which would cover, we try to spread out over this whole area. But if you would put them all together, it would cover about 570 square feet. The plan is to try to save any native vegetation that is there and replant it, because obviously lake's growing there. And then also put snow fencing along the graded area to assist in that stabilization. And there's also there's an existing pine tree on the front section of that area that we plan to keep. So I hope that is acceptable to the commission.
Okay, thank you. Rob, are you taking over, or do you want me to keep going for this one?
Yeah, you can keep going, please.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. At this time, we'll open up the project for public comment. So if there is anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on the project at 53 Wingersheek Road, speak now.
We currently have 42 attendees and I'm not seeing any hands up.
Okay, I'll close the public comment period. We'll move on to commissioner comments.
Roll call. Member Sharp's here.
No comments.
Member Cook.
Bill Cook's recusing from this one.
Member,
Okay.
no comment from Gradwell.
Member Sergeant.
I prefer closer to a 2-to-1 mitigation ratio. And again, 2-year monitoring for mitigation plantings, and the garage must remain an uninhabitable space without a formal Board of Health sign off.
Member Sherman. You're muted.
no further comments.
Member Gullah
No further comments.
and Member Jackson.
No further comments. Okay. What about you, Chuck? Do you have any additional comments?
No, I mean, I guess I agree that, doing plantings closer to a resource area is always better, but obviously stabilizing a slope is also not a bad thing. So.
Yeah, okay. Ms. Farr, is there any possibility of putting in some additional plantings to get a little closer to the resource area and keep the ones that are stabilizing the slope? Or is that not feasible?
I think it's probably feasible.
Okay,
Were you thinking something like more beach grass plugs or something along those lines?
yeah, that's pretty standard.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. I would appreciate that. Okay, some additional resource. Okay. Then if there are no further comments, we will move on. And Linda, would you like to close the public hearing?
Yeah, Charpentier moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282903 at 53 Wingershik Road.
Barry, you're muted.
Gradwell seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Gradwell,
Yes,
Member Sergeant,
Yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes,
Member Gullah,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Linda, you want to move forward with the project?
yes, Charpentier moves to approve NOI 0282903 at 53 Wingershik Road with the aforementioned conditions of 2-to-1 mitigation, a mortality plan for the plantings, and the Board of Health sign off of a non-inhabitable space for the garage.
and Gradwell seconds. Can we add that new plans would have to be submitted to check before issuing the permit?
Okay, roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Gradwell,
Yes,
Member Sergeant,
yes,
Member Sherman,
yes,
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. You're all set. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Rob, you want me to finish the continued hearings?
Sure, why not?
Okay. Next up is NOI 0282910 at 20 Rear Edgemore Road. Marie Powers for construction of a leaching field and buffer zone to vegetated wetland, represented by John Judd, Gateway Consultants, Inc.
Bill Cook's recusing from this one.
Okay. Do we have a representative?
Do you have Tyler shown up there?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Tyler Judd. I'm an EIT with Gateway Consultants. It's to my understanding that this project was presented at the previous hearing. And there were no more further questions, just to obtain the NOI number from DEP, which we do have. It's 0282910. If there are any further questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, what we'll do is go for public comment first and then commissioner roll call comments, and then we'll move through this. Is there anyone in the public who wishes to comment on NOI 0282910 at 20 Rear Edgemore Road?
We currently have 43 attendees present, and I am not seeing any hands up.
Okay, I'll close the public comment period. We'll move on to commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier,
no comments.
Member Gradwell,
no comment.
Member Sergeant,
no comment.
Member Sherman,
no comments.
Member Gullah,
No comments.
and Member Jackson.
No comments. Chuck, did you have anything you wanted to add to this?
No, I think that Mr. Judd is correct. We're mostly just waiting for a number on this one.
Okay. Linda, would you like to close the public hearing?
Yep, Charpentier moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282910 at 20 R Edgemore Road.
And Gradwell second.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
Yes,
Member Sergeant,
Yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes,
Member Gullo,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. And Linda?
Yeah, Charpentier moves to approve NOI 0282910 at 20R Edgemore Road.
Gradwell, second.
Well, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Gradwell,
Yes,
Member Sargent,
yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes,
Member Gullo,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Okay, you're all set, sir.
All right, thank you.
Let's go back and see, is anyone available yet for 337 Concord Street?
I'm not seeing anyone recognizable myself on the call.
well, let's keep moving.
Yeah. Okay, Rob, you want to take over on new business?
Sure. Okay, next up for new business is RDA 1760, 18A and 18R, Beckford Street, and 4, 6, and 10 Green Street. Michael Hale, City of Gloucester, renovating of an existing ball field and installation of new amenities within the proximity of an isolated wetland areas. Lisa Carrozza, Tetra Tech, representing.
Be promoting now.
Hello, Lisa.
Hello, sorry about that. We're just having some technical difficulties on this end joining.
So, just name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Lisa Carrozza, 10 Post Office Square, Boston, with Tetra Tech.
Excellent. And a brief description of the project. or
Sure.
a
So,
description.
Chuck, would you like me to share screen?
Sure.
Okay, so hopefully you can all see my screen.
Not yet.
Oh, you can't see it yet?
Nope.
Okay, sorry, we have problems with Zoom sometimes. Okay, can you see it now?
Nope.
Great, okay. Chuck, I apologize, but I think you're gonna have to share screen.
Let me just one moment here.
Technology is fantastic. So we're here on behalf of the DPW, City Public Works, for the renovation of the Green Street Park fields. It's really for an RDA because there's actually no wetland areas on the site. It's obviously used as a ball field today. So we knew there were no wetlands on the site. So we looked in the vicinity to just make sure that there weren't any resource areas around the site where it would cast 100-foot buffer onto the project site. So the first thing we did was we coordinated with Chuck for looking at areas north across Gloucester Crossing Road. There are 2 areas up there, one behind the Market Basket. One is an empty lot. And one's the rear of the Market Basket. And both of those were qualified as isolated land subject to flooding by the commission in prior filings. So those 2 areas do not cast or have a buffer zone that extend onto the project site from the north. So then we looked at wait for you to catch up. Okay. To the south of the existing ball field, there are 2 lots that are owned by the city. And we discovered vegetated wetlands on those lots, and those are identified as KMA and KMB. So at that point, we needed to figure out how those wetlands qualified. So we ran the calculations for isolated land subject to flooding. They don't meet the volume criteria under the Wetlands Protection Act. Under the Gloucester Wetlands Ordinance, the volume is met in area A, which is on the left. However, the depth criteria is not met. Therefore, it still qualifies as isolated vegetated wetland and not isolated land subject to flooding. The wetland on that's noted B on the right-hand side, conversely, that met the depth criteria in your ordinance, but not the volume criteria. So we have two areas in some that are isolated vegetated wetlands where we don't have a buffer zone that extends onto the project site. So in summary, we have two ILSFs on the north side of Gloucester Crossing Road where there is no buffer. And we have the two isolated vegetated wetlands south of the project site that have no buffer. So that's why we're before you as an RDA. And just as a point of information, so even though there may not be a notice of intent, we obviously recognize the fact that the contractor is going to have to implement best management practices and erosion prevention sediment control measures. Those plans will be included in the bid set that we put together for the city. There's a line of boulders, if you can just, that demarcates the maintained mode ball field from the edge of the woods. So we would be putting the silt fence up on the interior or the work side of the of that boulder field. So that there's no chance of anything getting into those wetland areas.
Okay, is that it?
Yes, I don't know if Bob Parsons was going to join us by phone.
We're pretty clear. I don't think we need to get into too much detail right now, but let me move into public comment before I
Okay.
step on my own toes here. So with that, I'm going to open up for public comment. Anyone in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 18A and 18R Beckford Street and 4, 6, and 10 Green Street may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 42 attendees. I'm not seeing any. Here we go. Got Patty Emerald.
Hello, Patty. Can you hear me?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. You're
Okay,
up.
well, I guess I just want to ask a question about, so when the school was going to go there, I know that Rick Roth, who is a wetland guy, I don't know what his criteria is, but he talked about salamanders and everything living there. And one of the reasons that maybe the school didn't go there, of course, there's no access to it from Market Street. I don't even know the name of that street, but Sand Park owns a road, so there's no access from that end. But so they talked about the salamander stuff like that. So I'm wondering, what's the difference between the building being there and the field being there? How does the animals and creatures not get disturbed with a different story to the land?
So if I could,
We'll wait for all comments first, and then you can keep writing them down, and then you can deal with them en masse.
okay.
Now, Patty, anything else?
I don't think so right now, because we don't really know how we're going to access that. Does that have a determination on any of this? The access point, because we don't have access from Sand Park's land that he owns.
Oh, we can only review what's been put in front of us. And
Okay.
right now, that areas, those two spot areas is what's being discussed. Outside of that, we really can't talk too much about, things that may or may not be part of this filing.
Because I've walked that area many times and yeah, there are a lot of wetlands.
My feeling is,
so-
but I can't speak, well, it might just all be relatively, well, let's go through the remaining questions and
Okay,
we can answer yours in the process.
okay.
Okay, so anyone else in the public wishing to speak for or against the project?
I am not seeing any other hands up at this time.
Seeing none, hearing none, a closed public comment period. Next up would be commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier,
No comment.
Member Cook,
No comment.
Member Gadwall,
No comment.
Member Sergeant,
No comment.
Member Sherman,
As I'm not familiar with these two red areas that have been mentioned on the plan here, I would like to get the Chuck's input on whether these two areas could be acting as, even if they're not certified, could they be acting as vernal pools? And does he see any threat to that if they are acting as vernal pools?
Member Gullah,
Nothing else to add that hasn't already been said.
and Member Jackson.
No comment.
Okay, Julie, so actually, why don't we start with Chuck? Chuck, why don't you respond to Bob's comment first?
Yeah, I guess I don't know the what the inundation timing is on those, but certainly any pool of water could be functioning as habitat for animals. This area is a field now in its existing condition, so I don't think it's being proposed to
Changing.
yeah, so it's still going to mostly be the same. It's just more of just adding some additional features around the area. So
Okay. All right, Julie, you're up. So there were only really a few comments from the public and the board. So if you could clarify those, that'd be great.
Okay, Lisa, right, okay. So the, in terms of the habitat, if there were endangered species habitat or salamander habitat, that would be located in the wooded section. And we're not intruding into the wooded section. So for instance, the footprint of development is going to stay within the field. The field itself is going to be redeveloped. So we won't be going past what you see today as lawn, as maintained ball field. So the critters, if they exist back there, they hang out in the wooded section, and we're not going into that wooded section at all. So they hang out in the wooded section. That's their habitat, and they would go to those vernal, if it was a vernal pool, into those vernal pools to lay the eggs. But they live in the wooded section. We're not touching. We're not going past those boulders. So basically, we're repurposing an existing field.
Okay, understood. Next up then would be is Commissioner roll call comments, Chuck.
I believe we already went through.
Oh, I'm
Sure.
sorry.
We've already done that, Rob.
It's been one of those days. Sorry about that. Okay, with that then,
You got something else to say?
why don't we move to close the hearing unless someone has anything else to add at this point? Seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah, Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1760 at 18A and 18 Rear Beckford Street and 4, 6, and 10 Green Street.
And Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gadwall,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1760 at 18A and 18 Rear Beckford Street and 4, 6, and 10 Green Street.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gadwall,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. You're all set, Lisa.
Thanks very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Okay. Next up is RDA 1755 Hesperus Avenue. Patrick Scully to replace and expand existing deck in riverfront area. Patrick Scully represented.
I believe Thomas Williams was going to be calling in. Let me see if I can find him here. Are you there?
Do you hear me now?
Yep.
Who's this? Tom
Hi,
Williams?
this is Thomas Williams, TJ Williams Construction Company,
Okay, and you're here for 181 Hesperus Ave, is that it?
181 Hesperus Ave. Yes, sir.
Okay, you want to explain the project to us?
Well, I had a permit pulled for the interior and exterior renovation of 181 Hesperus Ave.
Mhm.
And when the building inspector came over to give me a final inspection, he went out onto the existing deck. And he told me that the deck was unsafe. And he sent me a letter saying that the deck had to be removed immediately. So I went to see Devin and told her my situation. And she had the building inspector send her a letter explaining that the deck had to be removed immediately. And then she talked with you guys, I guess, and Chuck commented saying that the site looked good, and I put up the silt barrier and removed the deck. And I dug and poured all new concrete footings for the new deck that I pulled the permit for. And it's all been backfilled and it's all set.
Okay, sir, hang on the line. So we got to go through a bit of a process here. Just bear with us. So the first thing we're going to do is open this up to public comment. Is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project of 181 Hesperus Avenue? You may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 39 attendees and I'm not seeing any hands up.
Okay, seeing none here, none, I'll close the public comment period. Commissioner roll call comments?
Member Charpentier,
No comments.
Member Cook,
Yeah, and it's a question. It says that you were going to replace and expand the existing deck. But when I'm looking at the detail, it looks like it's stayed as a 12 by 16. So I just need to confirm that it wasn't an expansion of the deck and a replacement in same.
Oh, the deck's the same. It's 12 by 16.
Okay, so it's no expansion.
No, sir, it's the same that was there.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Member Gradwell,
In the filing, you said that you were going to replace it with some precast footing, and then just now you just said that you were pouring them. And I saw that there was a truckload of dirt brought in. I don't know whether that keeps it as an RDA or moves it to a NOI.
But what I did was when we dug out, I put crushed stone, 3/4 stone down, and then I put the PVC footing pads, and I poured 10-inch sonotubes, as opposed to the precast ones. Because I didn't know whether I'd get down 4 feet or not. And, you know, if you put the precast ones in and you're not down 4 feet, they stick 2 feet or more above, above the top of the ground. And, that's not any good. So I poured 10-inch sonotube and backfilled.
Okay. We'll circle back if we have anything else. Continue, Chuck, on the roll call.
Member Sargent,
I'd like to thank Inspectional Services for bringing this to our attention. Unfortunately, established protocols for sign-offs on projects doesn't always happen as it should. I have no comments as long as the deck isn't being expanded.
Member Sherman,
No further comments.
Member Gullah,
No further comment with the deck not being expanded.
Member Jackson,
Just A quick question, are these supports the same size as they were before?
No, they're up to code now. Before they weren't up to code. They weren't down, I don't think they were down more than a foot. So I had to get down 4 feet with the footing and then 10-inch sonotube. The other ones weren't up to code, so I had to remove them.
Okay, what size were the supports previously in diameter?
What they were, there was probably 2 or 3 8-inch concrete block just stacked on top of each other. There was no footing, there was very little support on the deck. That's why it was falling off of the house.
Sounds like it.
I think what Commissioner Jackson is asking is, you put in new sonotubes and footings. What's the diameter of the sonotube that you put in compared to what it was before?
I put in 10-inch sonotube, and the other ones were probably, say, 8 inches.
Okay, so yeah, which is
Concrete.
not uncommon. Okay.
Yeah, concrete blocks take up a lot of room. I can't see that there's an additional impact.
Okay.
I guess the only thing I would ask the commission is to maybe condition to have that wattle stay in place until the site is stabilized. Because there's a lot of dirt that's been moved around there and is pretty close to that creek. So if if they'd be willing to leave that wattle in place until things are kind of stabilized this spring, I think that might be good.
Okay,
because
we're gonna vote on this now, but if for some reason, if it comes out positive in your favor, we're asking you to leave the straw wattle that you put out in the yard there, and tell your client that wattle needs to stay there at least until spring, so the soils don't wash, actually past spring. I would like to see it in April, stay till at least April or May. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. I've since I backfilled, he graded all of that area off because Chuck was over there when the pile was there, but that pile is completely gone now and the ground's all leveled off. But I can leave the silt fence there. That's not a problem.
Still fence, and if there's any straw wattle or hay, leave that, or straw, leave that in place till the end of May, please.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1755 at 181 Hesperus Avenue.
Ms. Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes,
Member Sargent,
Yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes,
Member Gullo,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1755 at 181 Hesperus Avenue with the condition that the erosion control stays in place until the end of May.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
yes,
Member Sargent,
yes,
Member Sherman,
yes,
Member Gullo,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, sir, you're all set.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You too.
Next up, RDA 1758 47 Salt Island Road, Deb and Dave Bondi, renovation of second floor and addition of third floor to single family home in buffer zone to coastal resource area. Nikki Bach of Bach Builders representing.
Not seeing Nikki, but I'm seeing a hand up for Jason O'Connor. Let's see if he's. Oops.
Mr. O'Connor?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes, are you speaking for the project at 47 Ave?
Yes, I am. Nikki couldn't make it tonight. I am a project manager for her.
Okay.
So I'm standing in.
Okay, name and address for the record?
For myself?
Yeah.
Jason O'Connor, my address 7 Sibley Street, Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Okay, brief description of the project, please. Do you need to share screen or something?
Truthfully, I do not have the plans. Oh, there we go. Perfect. So what we're looking to do is put it will be a second floor renovation, with a third floor addition within the same footprint of what we have here. There's really not, I guess it's not too much to it, except for, I guess we're wondering if we are going to be subject to the Wetlands Protection Act. We are in the coastal zone, but not in the FEMA flood zone. So I believe she provided kind of a site map with where we would have our area of work, our dumpster storage area.
You bring it up, Chuck?
Yeah, give me just a moment here.
So environmentally, I mean, we're not looking to change anything at all. There's no land work or excavation to be done whatsoever. It's merely going up, not out.
Okay.
We've kind of provided a brief synopsis of, common practice as far as keeping debris from getting in the ocean. Our resource area near the street, it's actually shielded by a garage behind it, as well as where the dumps would be, kind of on the edge of Salt Island Road.
Okay, well, while Chuck is trying to bring that up, we're gonna move to public comment.
Okay.
So just hold tight.
Mhm.
You don't have to comment on anything. This is from the public, so just sit tight. That being said, does anyone in the public wish to speak for or against the project of 47 on Salt Island Road? Yes, 47 Salt Island Road. If so, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We have 42 attendees present, and I'm not seeing any hands up. I'm also not seeing, there's plans of the additional floors, but I'm not seeing anything that's showing where the dumpsters and that sort of stuff are located. So that's why I just showed that ground floor.
Oh, you showed that, Chuck. I thought I saw. Well, first of all, so there's nobody in the public.
No, nobody with their hands up at this time. Yeah.
Hearing none, a closed public comment period. So Chuck, when you open that one, who would screen share it? Because I thought I saw it in the upper left hand, unless that's another job. Is that another project? See, it was showing up in a window on the left. Something, but maybe I'm missing. Yes, keep scrolling out. Keep scrolling out. Keep scrolling back.
Back to this one.
No, back. You're too far forward. Make them small. Minus, not plus.
Make them small.
Yeah. See if I can see the whole sheet. It was something else. Okay. All right. Well, all right. Let's. We've heard public comment. There's nothing there. Oh, there's some more stuff. I guess, unfortunately, we don't sit here. Oh, what's all this slowness? Okay. Okay.
So door schedules and.
Yeah. All right. Just keep scrolling. See if for some reason maybe it's attached to the bottom. Sometimes that happens. Let's keep going a little more. That's it. All right. Okay. So you can close that out. All right, Jason. Unfortunately, at this point, we understand what you're trying to do, but the documentation seems to be lacking just some of the stuff you just talked about, which is, whether or not you need silt fences, showing the dumpster. It's gonna have to go back, I think, into the queue and come back in the next meeting in 2 weeks. We just can't approve it based on, there just seems to be some missing information. It doesn't look like it's going to be anything difficult for the board to review, but it still needs to be complete. And right now, we're missing a few pieces, I think, to the pie.
Okay, so let me just pose a couple questions real quick. So as far as I'm looking at it, unfortunately, on a piece of paper, and I tried to find it digitally, I just can't. So I'll simply, this was handed to me, but we're given I'm showed a dumpster storage area, the actual garage, the area of work. Would you guys actually tell us where you would expect silt barriers, et cetera? Is that something that I should have drawn in?
Yeah, no, you can draw it in, but ideally you want someone in the business of wetlands protection to look at it. You can do your best idea of what you think and where it is, and then propose it to let the agent look at it, but usually the applicant has to take ownership in spelling it all out. You put forth this project to us.
There you go. That's the one. That's the picture I have.
Okay.
Whoever just shared that.
I just found it in an email. Yeah.
Okay, so we see it's a little, even for me anyways, I'll let fellow commissioners comment on it. Why don't we go into, I just don't know what to do with this. It seems like it's just missing too many, not a lot, but it just needs a little more work, I think, for the board. But why don't you do roll call comments, Chuck, and see how they feel.
All right, Member Charpentier,
I'd like a little more detail on that plan.
Member Cook,
I'm perfectly happy with putting in the conditions. They show where the dumpster is gonna be. The standard thing is to make sure that it's covered at night. And all we have to do is say that a debris fence is installed, forward of the, where the construction is gonna be. I think in the order of conditions is more than adequate to cover that, without having to make the applicant come back again.
Okay.
Gradwell agrees with Mr. Cook, and as long as it comes to check before he issues the permit, then everything's fine.
Member Sergeant,
I agree with the previous two commenters.
Member Sherman. You're muted.
I tend to agree with the chair. I would like to see more detail. I believe that we should see where the silt fence or wetland protection measures will actually be, rather than leave it up to kind of an after the fact thing.
Member Gullah.
I have to listen to some other commissioners. I think I'm okay with documenting it or allowing them to document. It is an RDA. They aren't expanding anything in the footprint. So I think, even though I hate to throw poor Bob under the bus now, he's riding alone here, but I think I've heard enough now that we can condition it enough or have them condition it enough to the approval of the agent that it can move forward. But so Mr. O'Connor, we're gonna.
Wait a minute, I haven't commented.
Oh, I'm sorry. Joe Jackson, please respond.
I agree with the previous commissioners. I think with daily site cleanup, a covered dumpster with the location designated on the plan and a list of the best management practices that they'll be following, and all of that submitted to you, Chuck, prior to your issuance of the RDA, I'm good with it.
Okay. All right, then, Mr. O'Connor, so we're going to, if you want, we will vote on this now. It's up to you to ask us to vote. We will. There is a chance it gets denied. It doesn't look like a big one, but it could. So do you want to take this project and do a little more work on it, or would you like us to vote on it now?
I would like you to vote on it now, please.
Okay.
I would appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1758 at 47 Salt Island Road.
And Charpentier seconds.
We'll call Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Yes,
Member Gradwell.
yes,
Member Sergeant.
Yes,
Member Sherman.
Yes,
Member Gullah.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for negative determination for RDA 1758 at 47 Salt Island Road with the conditions of daily cleanup and other best management practices listed, along with a covered dumpster and its location to be submitted to the agent prior to issuance of the RDA.
Carpentier seconds?
Roll call, member Charpentier,
Yes.
member Cook,
Yes.
member Gradwell,
yes,
member Sergeant,
yes,
member Sherman,
Yes,
member Gullo,
Yes.
and member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, sir, you're all set. You've been approved.
Excellent, everybody. Thank you so much for your time.
Welcome.
Have a
good
great
night.
night.
Next up, RDA 1759, 55 Dennison Street, Margaret Harriage, replacement of existing deck in riverfront area, buffer zone to coastal resource area, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. John Judd at Gateway Consultants, Inc. representing.
All right, hello everyone. Tyler Judd again. I'm an EIT with Gateway Consultants, representing Margaret Harries at 55 Dennison Street. The owner would like to redevelop the existing deck by removing it and building a new one in the same footprint. The existing deck is at the basement elevation. If you take a look at the photo included in the RDA submitted, you can see that. I don't know if you could pull that up, Chuck. It might be a little easier to look at, get you a better understanding. If not, I could screen share it for you.
Yeah, if you have it up, that'd be great.
Yeah, I do. All right. Right here. All right. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay. So the proposed deck will be elevated to the first story elevation as opposed to the basement elevation, which it's at right now. Since this is a redevelopment, they will be using the existing footings used for the existing deck. And all work will be fortified with the stake silt fence. Since the existing footings are being used, there will be no disturbance to the existing ground. So that's a brief summary. So if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, first up, I'll open up for public comment. Does anybody in the public wishes to speak for or against the project at 55 Dennison Street? If so, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 42 attendees present, and I'm not seeing any hands up this time.
Okay. Seeing none here, none, close public comment period. Commission roll call comments, please.
Member Charpentier,
No comments?
member Cook,
No comments.
member Gradwell,
no comment,
member Sergeant,
no comment.
member Sherman.
I just wanted to make sure that it was just that lower level deck that was being raised up, that there would now be not any changes to the deck on the cove side of the building. I guess my only concern is if there were any impact to that higher level deck that it is at this point is very close to mature trees there, and I would just be concerned about the impact of work so close to those trees. But if it's not that part of the deck and just the lower level, I have no concerns.
Correct. Yeah. So they're getting rid of that bottom floor deck and then they're raising it and redoing just that portion of the deck and then keeping that upper mezzanine level.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Member Gullo
No further comments.
and member Jackson.
No comment other than just trying to see in your work whether you talk about maintaining a clean site, but I guess you do. Okay,
Okay. I'm sorry, Anjo.
that's
Good.
okay. No, I'm done.
Okay, it's Bill Cook. I did want to, I meant to ask, if you're going to raise the deck up to the upper level, is the plan, what's the plan for underneath the old deck that you're raising up, is it just gonna be pea stone?
Yeah,
underneath?
it will remain as is.
Well, it's a deck right now, so there's nothing there, but
Right. So
so
no,
it's
yeah.
just gonna be gravel? There's no plan to put a patio or anything in underneath there?
As of right now, no, there's no plan for that.
Okay, and just, they need to be aware that if they do decide to do underneath there, they will need to come back.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, anything else, commissioners? Again, this is another RDA. So if you want
Okay.
to,
Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1759 at 55 Dennison Street.
Carpentier seconds,
Roll call, member Charpentier,
yes,
member Cook,
Yes,
member Gradwell,
yes,
member Sergeant,
yes,
member Sherman,
Yes,
member Gullo,
yes,
member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1759 at 55 Dennison Street.
Carpentier seconds,
Roll call, member Charpentier,
yes,
member Cook,
yes,
member Gradwell,
yes,
member Sergeant,
yes,
member Sherman,
yes,
member Gullo,
yes.
and member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, sir, you're all set.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, RDA 1761 35 Dennison Street. Judith Hughes, construction of a second floor addition to a single-family home in riverfront area, buffer zone to coastal resource area, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Judith Hughes representing.
Hello, I'm sorry, I don't know why my camera's not on. I'm the resident, the owner at 35 Dennison Street with my husband, and we are seeking to put a second floor addition on top of a small addition we put on back in 2018. It will allow us to have an office / studio space. It is going to be built on the existing foundation, just straight up on what's there already. Our carpenter prefers not to use dumpsters. He takes everything away day of. So there should be no disturbance to the land, no disturbance to any vegetation. So I would hope for a negative determination.
Okay. I'll open up for public comment first. If anybody wishes to speak for or against the project at 35 Dennison Street, you may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 41 attendees, and I'm not seeing any hands up this time.
Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Okay, so
There I am.
there you are.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do roll call comments now from the commissioners.
All right. Roll call, member Charpentier,
no comments,
member Cook,
no comments.
member Gradwell,
no comment,
member Sergeant,
no comment,
member Sherman,
my only comment, since obviously some roofing material will have to be removed to raise the structure, I just would like the applicant to really make sure that the contractor, often when you see roofs removed, they can be a pretty violent act, I guess the words are, but just to make sure that nothing that coming off the building doesn't end up in the cove, as it is very close. to
Absolutely,
the water.
absolutely. Yeah. No, he's meticulous.
Okay.
member Gullo,
No further comments.
member Jackson.
I would echo Mr. Sherman's comment that a clean site be maintained. I'm glad he's meticulous.
So am I have to live through the construction.
You do. Okay,
then, if that's it, you want to close the hearing?
come on then,
sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1761 at 35 Dennison Street.
Carpentier seconds,
Roll call, member Charpentier,
yes,
member Cook,
Yes,
member Gradwell,
yes,
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Bella,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1761 at 35 Dennison Street with the condition of clean site maintenance.
Carpenter seconds,
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
yes?
Member Cook,
yes,
Member Gradwell,
yes,
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Bella,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, you're all set. Be careful with that siding and any of the roofing. That'd be great. Good
Don't
luck.
worry, we will. We will. Thank you very much, commissioners.
Thank
you're
you.
welcome.
Next up, RDA 1762, 32 Horton Street, Ocean Alliance, sewer connection in buffer zone, coastal resource area, and the LSCSF, or land subject to coastal storm flowage. Evan Gavendran of DeRosa Environmental Consulting representing. Evan, you there?
You should be promoting now.
Hi, yes, good evening. This is Evan Gavendran of DeRosa Environmental. I'm here representing Ocean Alliance for their proposed sewer connection. We are requesting a negative determination of applicability for the project. Also on the call, I think, is John Moran of the Moran Cameron Group. Chuck, if you can promote him as well.
Okay. So first up, you want to just give us a brief oh, there we go.
Yep, sorry. So this is the site, 32 Horton Street, Ocean Alliance. It's on Rocky Neck in Gloucester. So the project proposes to connect sewer from the existing dwelling, or excuse me, existing building, all the way through the driveway, Horton Street, and then up to this Clarendon Street, Watson Street intersection. A 2 to 3 foot wide trench will be dug to install the underground utilities. It'll be silt sock. We are proposed on the resource area side of the proposed activity to prevent erosion from getting to the resource areas. And all trenched material will be up gradient of the trench as well for an added extra protection if during a rain event, all the material would fall into the trench. And then trenches will be backfilled same day, so the site will be returned back to existing conditions immediately after the install. And just as a reminder, this is the top of Coastal Bank, which is the wall. And then we are also in the floodplain, which is this dark purple line. So portions of the project are within there. We did submit this plan to the town DPW and city engineer, I believe. They had no comments. They just asked if Ocean Alliance would be responsible for future maintenance and ownership of the sewer connection. And that is the plan. Ocean Alliance will have responsibility over that.
Okay. All right, first up, I'll open up for public comment. Anyone who wishes to speak for or against the project at 32 Horton Street may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 36 attendees, and I'm not seeing any hands up this time.
Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close public comment period. Commissioner roll call comments, please.
This simple 30-second method reverses memory loss for good. It's Siri.
That was weird.
What was that?
Roll comments, please.
Member Charpentier,
No comments.
Member Cook,
no comments.
Member Gradwell,
no comment,
Member Sergeant,
I'm glad you have a soil management plan. You know, I looked thoroughly at that. And I'm assuming you're going to abandon what I think is an on-site cesspool according to 310 CMR 15.
John, can you confirm that, please?
Yes, good evening for the record, John Moran from the Moran Cameron Group. Yes, the existing, it's actually a tight tank that's out at the site. So the tight tank will be abandoned. We'll discuss that with the Board of Health and there'll be a appropriate filing. What's happening is the tight tank that's there is actually, now that I'm saying this out loud, I have to reverse this. The tight tank is actually being converted over to a pump chamber. So what's going to happen is the existing tight tank is now just going to get converted over to the pump chamber where the duplex pumps are located.
Who's next, Joe?
Member Sherman,
No comments.
Member Gullo,
We always like sewer hookups, saves the resource areas, so I'm good.
Member Jackson.
No, no comments.
Okay, commissioners, if everyone's okay with this, it seems pretty straightforward. Again, it's the last of a long list of RDAs. So if we want to close the hearing, let's go.
Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1762 at 32 Horton Street.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes,
Member Sergeant,
yes,
Sherman,
Yes,
Member Gullo,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1762 at 32 Horton Street.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
yes,
Member Sergeant,
yes,
Member Sherman,
yes.
Member Gullo,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, looks like you're all set. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Two.
We are now up to amendment. Notice of intent 0282833 39 Nashua Avenue, Robert Stern, amendment to NOI 028-2833 to widen access road and buffer the coastal resource area and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Michael Faherty representing.
See if he's on. He said he might be a little late this evening. I'm gonna.
Oh, he's up there, I see him.
Oh, there he is. Yep.
Is he back? Did we lose him?
He should be promoting to panelists.
You're muted, Mr. Faherty, but if you could unmute yourself, that'd be good.
Mute.
Okay, name and address for the record, sir?
My name is Michael Faherty, and I live at 45 Rocky Neck Avenue in Gloucester.
Okay.
This evening, on behalf of Robert Stern and his wife, who were approved for a project building a new single-family house on a lot that they've owned since 1990 in the Annisquam section of Gloucester. The project was approved by your board. The project started and shortly thereafter, there was a letter sent to Mr. Stern about construction activity. And that has been the end of the discussions that haven't been held with the person who sent the letter. The issue is simply this: the roadway coming in from Nashua Avenue. Dr. Stern and his wife own a house out on Nashua Avenue, and then they own the back lot, which is surrounded by 3 separate streets. The intention all along has been that the roadway coming in off of Nashua Avenue further up from their house would be the means of access into this construction site. Approximately on November 4th, they were served with a letter from an attorney saying that they could no longer use the roadway that they were using and that they had to get off of it. As I said before, yeah, thank you, Chuck. You're showing the area we're talking about here. The siltation fence and barrier were installed back in last summer. It was all predicated on this plan. You will see the remnants of that fencing that was there. And you'll see in the foreground, you will see some pieces of wood. And down the end, you'll see that there is some kayaks tipped over and a few other things. The owner of the property, the Gustons, they have a large concrete block wall around their property. They claim that the property bound, it follows the line of those blocks that have been put out there. We contend that that is not correct, but we have been unable to engage them in any discussions about that since we received the letter back on November 4th. All we're asking to do at this point is to allow us as an amendment to our permit to go 5 feet to the left of that plan that the fencing plan that's shown there into that low briar. That way, without any issue, we can access the property to complete the construction. The access in and out is totally within a roadway which is known as Ocean Avenue, which is also shown on your plan. You'll see on the right-hand side, you'll see Ocean Avenue when it goes up past the Dustin's property. We take exception to what they say is their property and somehow can limit our access to the Stearns property. However, as I clearly stated in the letter requesting the modification, I said that we do not agree. No, please note that my clients and I do not agree with the neighbor's assertion about the location of your property line, but we have no interest in being pulled into litigation over that fact. So we are looking for permission to expand the what is the traveled way by up to 5 feet. It would be in that briared area right there. I should say that the briar area gets cut all the time. It's not going to have a big effect on that. It's flat. It is briars, and we can utilize the foreground on this. You'll see in the beginning, there's not an issue about width. It's only when you get down by that fencing system, and that's the area we're just seeking permission to expand that. It is entirely within the confines of Ocean Avenue. It's not like we're going beyond the bounds. It still will have room before it gets to the next lot on the other side, which is not any habitation on that lot.
Chuck, can you show that strip of fabric on the site plan? So I can see, I'm just confused by location. Just, you keep moving.
Yeah.
You'll see they look like buttons. They're shown on the plan as like a button where the stakes are.
Okay. I mean, okay. Anything else, Mr. Faraday?
No, unless if there's any comments or anything, I'll
Yeah,
answer.
we'll go through the usual motion. So first up would be his public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at, where is it now? We have 39R Nashua Avenue. You may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We have 37 attendees, and I have 2 hands up at the moment. The first one up is D.
Okay. Yes,
Good
yes.
evening. I am Diane Dustin, and I just wanted to correct some of Mr. Faherty's incorrect statements.
Okay, well, what's your address, Steve, if you don't
Oh,
mind?
9 Diamond Avenue, Gloucester, Massachusetts.
Okay,
Thank you very much. And when the truck started to come in front of my lawn, as you can see by Mr. Faherty's picture, they started to make ruts. And I went, gee, that's really close to my property. Are they driving on my property, my land? So I spent $750 to have my land surveyed. I didn't take it lightly. I did it to make sure that I had correct information, that I do own that land. And when the survey came back, I spoke, or one of my relatives spoke, because I'm disabled, to the construction crew and said, gee, please don't drive your trucks on my property. Which no one would want their property driven over. So they continued to ignore me. So I hired a lawyer and I did a cease and desist to the builder, Drew Hale, and asked them to kindly stop driving their construction trucks on my property. And that's, despite what his letter said, I didn't threaten. It was a state-of-the-art cease and desist. And it was to just stop the trucks. I don't care where the trucks go, but I don't want them driving on my property.
understood.
Thank you for listening.
Well, who's next, Chuck?
We have Meredith Flynn Ripley.
Meredith?
Hi, folks. I'm a member of the Diamond Cove Association. I live on
That's fine.
14,
Can you give me your name and address for the record, please?
Meredith Flynn Ripley, 14 Nashua Avenue. So I live on Nashua Avenue and I belong to the Diamond Cove Association, which is
Okay.
a group of homeowners that have property right on the other side of Ocean Avenue, which the lawyer neglected to state is a ghost road. So a couple of things that I just, it's hard to see from the pictures, but this is a by the way, the briars are not cut all the time. We've been a member of the association for 10 years now, and I think they've been cut once. And what you're not seeing is there's a lot of natural land and pathways that people sit. And so to put a road in, cutting into the briar, and who knows if that's touching the Diamond Cove Association land or not, I don't know. But it would completely change the landscape, which right now is a nice natural place where people will put towels and they sit on the cliffs and watch the sunsets. We don't want a road there. And the briar patches are not cut all the time. It's nature. And in fact, we're trying to figure out how to make it more of a hang place, like to, put a little more benches or two, because the association members like to use that land. It's a steep cutoff to the ocean. You're right on the ocean there. And so looking at a ghost road definition, I see words that say for Massachusetts, a ghost road is not owned by the town. It's not a road. And shouldn't be turned into somebody's driveway. So I am against this, and I don't think this has been communicated properly to the Diamond Cove Association. We all just received an email on Sunday. So I think that more notice will get you more people from a Diamond Cove Association point of view expressing their view that this should not happen.
Okay, thank you. One more person that looks like they have their hand up, or is that previous person?
That is who just spoke.
Okay. All right, so you could take their hands down. Anyone else want to raise their hand for this project? Again, hit the hand button at the bottom of your screen. Anyone else? Seeing none, hearing none, close the public comment period. All right, commissioners. Gonna do roll call comments.
But I have, would you like me to respond to that or wait until you had your comments?
Why don't you let us speak first, because it might.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Member Charpentier.
It's not clear to me, is there another access way into the applicant's property?
And
They
Mr.
don't have-
Fairty, don't answer, we'll go through all the questions first and you can answer them after we compile them all. Okay.
That's it.
Member Cook.
I'm struggling with this. As far as the picture that I'm looking at, I'm not sure how to relate that to the existing area. I mean, I've looked at a couple maps and I'm looking at one of the documents that we got that showed, and I'm going to call this maybe a quote road, a ghost road off Diamond Avenue, but I also see one coming in from the other direction. So I'm not really sure where we're orienting these pictures in relation to anything. Because as I can see where it's running along that wall, I don't know where that wall is in relation to any of the maps that we're showing. And I would be dead set against anything that would, cut back those briars, but I'm trying to relate those briars to anything on a map that we've seen so far.
Okay, next.
Member Goodall.
It looks to me like there's another possibility of using off of the ghost roads access to the property. And I think that to keep the argument down, that it'd be much, that should be considered.
Okay, Member Sergeant.
At a minimum, there would have to be some mitigation for the cutting or the loss of vegetation. Thank you.
Member Sherman.
I have a few comments. First of all, the work that has already been done on the site has seriously degraded wildlife habitat in that area. And I don't know, Chuck, can you show the two photographs again?
Yeah.
I really think you should visit the site, folks, because this is the briar patch and then ocean.
You can't speak anymore. I close the public comment period. Please, no more comment from the public. Chuck, if you can turn that off, I'd appreciate it. Okay.
All right, I'd like the people to be able to see.
We lost it. Oh, he's shut.
Sorry. Yeah.
Can you bring him back up, Chuck, when you have a moment?
Yep.
So these two photographs are taken from the opposite directions of where this access has been. You see the wooden stumps were placed later when the woman, I forget her last name, Dee, you can see that the construction vehicles were going through this area. If you look at the silt fence, which obviously has not been very well maintained, it's all this so-called briar to the left of that silt fence that is that they're asking to remove. I guess one of my questions is, if this silt fence was there to protect a resource in the first place, now they're asking to move that silt fence and cut all this. I've actually looked at that vegetation and I would not characterize it as worthless. There is a lot of staghorn and sumac growing in there, which is a native species beneficial for wildlife. And I'm also a bit skeptical about just moving it back 5 feet. If you look where the green kayak is, there is, you can't see it, it's too small, but there is a tiny little surveyor's mark right where the tip of that, green kayak is. And for construction vehicles to get in through there, past where that kayak is, that silt fence wouldn't have to be moved back at least 7 or 8 feet, not just 5 feet. Again, removing this vegetation that, you know, it doesn't look like much at this time of the year, but it does provide wildlife habitat. And, you know, as we're looking, the site itself is, you know, back towards the left where that orange kayak is. And again, there's been significant removal of vegetation in that buffer zone to the coastal bank already. My second point is, you know, because this has been surveyed, this does seem to be a bit of a property boundary issue. Not only with the Woman D, but also with the Diamond Cove Association. And I believe that allowing further cutting in this area without knowing exactly where the boundaries are, we would be immersing ourselves, the Conservation Commission, in this property dispute. And I believe, you know, until maybe this needs to be adjudicated somewhere beyond us, in land court perhaps. But I believe at this point, we should not be allowing this amendment to occur.
Thank you.
Member Villa?
So I'm going to keep it simple, pretty much on the same bent as Mr. Sherman. Basically, I don't really care about the road issue here. It's unfortunate, I understand that, but the briars, again, their habitat, I don't even know if we're in buffer to coastal. I don't know where we really are either. My feeling here is that at a minimum, you know, as was said by previous commissioners, for the cutting of the 5 feet or whatever that was, there would have to be some sort of mitigation to offset that. So I concur with previous commissioners. I really don't want to get into whose road, what road, not really our game here. But what is our game is habitat and resource, and cutting those briars is going to have an impact on the resource. And therefore, I think, in my opinion anyway, is that the applicant should revisit this and deal with the issue of not being able to hurt the habitat in any way, shape, or form, if they're going to do anything. Start with that.
Member Jackson?
I certainly think the best solution is a different access. I hate to lose the amount of briar they're talking about, but that stuff does grow back very, very quickly. In terms of mitigation and in terms of even cutting the briar, we have no idea who owns that property. I think that's a good a point that was brought up. So A, are we authorizing work on somebody else's property? And B, if we require mitigation, whose responsibility is it to do the mitigation?
Okay. Anything else, Andrew?
No.
All right, Mr. Faraday, so I think you kind of got our feelings on this. I think you might want for us to continue this maybe, and you to see what you can do to mitigate the concerns of the commission.
Well, I will do that, Mr. Guller, but I'd like the opportunity to respond to a few things that have been raised by your members.
Absolutely.
If among the documents that were given to you, okay, you go to the third document in, okay, it's got a date on the top of it of September 6, 2022.
Can we see that, please?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up right now.
Yep. Okay.
So it's the one you're referring to?
I'm not seeing it on on my screen.
Can I ask, before you move this screen, because I came across this one, and where the circle is drawn around where the property is the stone wall on the ocean side of that shaded ghost road, if you will? Is that where the stone wall that we're talking about exists?
No, I don't, I can speak to these issues from my plan, but can you see the plan?
Now, we're looking at a different plan. It's basically a little tight shot question.
Because there's another ghost road that comes up from Nashua Street, and
I'd rather us not get into roads if we can avoid it.
No, but can you, Chuck, can you bring this up? It's the third sheet.
That's the third page.
Yeah, but I'm looking at a screen here and it says, well, wait a minute, tells me to launch the meeting. If I do that, am I gonna see something?
No, I'm not sure. I was sharing my screen. I'm not sure what you're seeing.
Yeah, I'm just seeing something that says click open Zoom meetings on dialogue shown by your browser. And then it says launch meeting. I already was on the meeting.
Unless you accidentally reset another meeting for yourself accidentally.
No. Well, let me just comment on the plan that you people are obviously looking at, okay? If you look, this is a portion of the documents that the city provides as a mechanism to see where things are. And if you look at law 187-24, which is that insert a circle sort of, and that is the stone wall that is on the Gustus property. If you look to the going towards law 187-17, that is the property that was referred to by the second speaker. Okay, my client is law 187-21, which is off to the right of those. Now, when people say, "Oh, there's another way in," someone is referring obviously to the road that comes in off of Nashua Avenue and goes down, and the Stearns own all the property from Nashua Avenue all the way till you get to Ocean Avenue. And they have rights of access in their deeds for everything that is shown on this plan, including going over Ocean Avenue. So there is no issue that they have the right to use this road, just like almost all the other people in that area have the same right. Now, the issue becomes, if you look again at law 187-24, look at what I'm calling an ellipse or a circle, and then you'll see this sort of like a dashed line as you go up the page, okay? That is what Mrs. Gustus is claiming is hers. You can see the shaded part, that's what's being used all the time. And it goes around and you'll see that this path that services the rear of the Gustus property crosses over the Stearns property, okay? So in seeking an amendment, I was just saying, we just want to use that the shaded section that's already there. And we wanted to use that, and so that it would be set off from her claim, which we don't agree with, okay? And they don't want to discuss it, okay? So that was all, and that would be the only reason for which we would seek this additional space to do it. Now, the other spot where you look on the right, wait a second, on the other side, okay, you'll see a narrower section that connects 18721 on the right-hand side and the Ocean Avenue on the northerly side. That is not capable of being negotiated with any vehicle. It is a path, it's overgrown, it's used as a walking path. That is the only other way that conceivably in, but it's not passable. It's a path, okay? So that was the sole issue for asking for the amendment. Now, in addition to that, when someone said, well, you know, these briars, and I said they've been trimmed, and believe me, I've seen them enough to see that they've been trimmed, okay? And they're not, it's not going to be a situation that we may not even have to go in 5 feet to make sure that the vehicles won't come close to what the Dustins are claiming is theirs. In it, when someone says on 18717, the Diamond Cove group, okay, Dr. Stern is actually a member of their board, and we're not going anywhere close to that boundary. The stake that's there would remain there, and it's not an issue. We're not proposing to go into that property at all. We just simply want to have the access to get over, back and forth. In the interim, it would be our hope that the Dustins would have to show this, that they have this right to go out that far as their private property. Our contention is they don't. And we have the documents in the other documents that are attached to here to show you they don't. But we really don't want to get involved in a lengthy discussion or court litigation over something. We are very confident that they don't have it. And to me, their failure to even discuss it reinforces that point. Now, I'd like to ask that you continue this. Moreover, I'd like to ask you to do a site visit, because the pictures are not going to give you, you know, real feel for what it is. You're looking at a couple of boats. Those boats are not on their property. The logs that they've thrown out there are not on their property. So,
Okay, but Mr. Faraday, I want to interrupt just for a minute. Now,
Yeah.
what is your client going to use as their driveway or right of way onto their property on a regular basis?
exactly what you see on that plan.
So what you're saying is you want us to open that up to a full-size road for full-time access for your client?
No, I'm saying
It's not a temporary, we're gonna let the stuff grow back. You're asking us to approve a road all the way through there for your client to access his property.
no.
Yes, you are. Tell me you're not doing it. You just said you were.
No, what I said was that if you look at this plan, that is the existing roadway that's there. And we have a right to use that, and he's used that in the past. We're not asking for anything new. The only thing about newness here is that we'd like to be able to get this project back on track. And if we have to take some of the briar out so we get a little bit more area to drive through, that's it. And we would be prepared to say that it's going back because we're confident that they don't have the right to block it.
So what you're saying is, then again, you want to remove that briar permanently so you can make it a road
I
for your
didn't
client.
say, I didn't say permanently. No, I didn't.
Okay, let me wrap this up then. All right, the bottom line is this. I personally, and for the commission, we try not to, and let's not continue to get involved in land disputes. The only thing I see here under our jurisdiction for discussion and voting purposes is the fact that the applicant is asking to remove briar that is covered under our purview. I recommend that the the applicant go back and put it in the form of, if you want to remove those briars, you're going to have to come up with mitigation somewhere to offset the loss of whatever you're planning to do. I don't care what you're doing. I'm worried about the habitat. So if you're moving 50 feet of plantings, you're gonna have to mitigate for it. That's the stuff we cover. We don't cover roadways and well, I shouldn't say we never do. That's not true. But in principle, we're here to talk about the resource and the buffer to resource. And that seems to be a pretty straightforward part of this project. If you mitigate for it properly, maybe it gets approved by this commission, but we're talking about things that are way outside our box, where we're way out of our lane. We want to focus on the resources and their impacts. So I suggest the applicant continue and look at it that way and come back to us with a plan to either one, not do it and withdraw, or come up with a plan to mitigate for the removal of what you're asking. That's simple.
Are you willing to make a site visit?
I'm happy to make a site visit, sure.
Okay, okay. Well, if we could arrange that, that's fine. I'll request that it be continued. And we will explore fully the compensation for the, what we're asking for.
The lost habitat is what you really want to keep focusing on.
Well, when you get there, that's why I want you to do the site visit.
Understood. Okay.
Can you
so
be,
want us
can you
to
be
move
ready?
weeks?
Can you be ready for March 15th?
Yes, provided if we continue to get these blizzards that we've been, probably not, but yes, I will be ready.
Okay. And assuming you can get the site visit in, let's continue it until March 15th, and then we'll take it from there.
That'd be fine.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue the amendment for NOI 0282833 at 39 Rear Nashua Avenue to the Conservation Commission meeting of March 15th, 2023.
Ms. Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
Yes,
Member Sherman. You're muted.
Sorry, I have a cough. I don't want to have you keep hearing my cough, so that's why I'm muting myself. Yes,
Member Gullah,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Moving along here, we have next up, notice of intent 0282909, 243 East Main Street, Andrew Campbell, renewal of chapter 91 permit for existing float and ramp in coastal resource area and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Andrew Campbell representing. Mr. Campbell? Hello? Unmute yourself, Mr. Campbell, if you can.
He's promoting to a panelist.
Okay. Mr. Campbell, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
great. Name and address for the record, sir?
At 243 East Main Street.
Okay. A brief description of your project?
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
A brief description of the project you want to do?
Sure. This is just a relicense of an existing dock that was put in and licensed in 1994. I discovered that the specification of the dock install was slightly different from the permit. And so this is not a renewal, but a new application. But the dock's been in there for 30 years.
Okay. First thing I'll do is open up a public comment. Anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 243 East Main Street? If so, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device. There you are, sir.
We currently have 23 attendees and there are no hands up.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, to close public comment period. Next up is commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier,
No comment?
Member Cook,
No comments.
Member Gradwell,
No comment.
Member Sergeant,
No comment.
Member Sherman,
No comment, no comments.
Member Villa,
No comment.
and Member Jackson.
No comment.
Okay, then, if commissioners, if there's nothing else to add, I want to close the hearing.
Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282909 at 243 East Main Street.
Ms. Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Villa,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282909 at 243 East Main Street.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Villa,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, sir, you're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Next up, notice of intent 0282908-179 Hesperus Avenue, Fran White, replacement of septic system in riverfront area and buffered zone to bordering vegetated wetland. Dan Ottenheimer of Mill River Consulting representing.
Voting down now.
You there, Mr. Ottenheimer? Mr. Ottenheimer?
He should be promoting.
I'm
There he
sorry.
goes.
There he is.
There we go. Hey, good evening, Commissioners. Dan Ottenheimer, engineer with Mill River Consulting. Thank you for promoting me to a panelist, Chuck. So we are here to discuss an existing house at 179 Hesperus Avenue. Adjacent to the house is a resource area associated with a stream that comes out of West Pond and heads towards the ocean. The project is a construction of an upgrade to the septic system that serves the house. And we did soil testing and the presence of the health department. Septic system was designed and that has been approved by the Board of Health. The replacement is going to occur in generally the same location up on the side of the house as you see it here. Thank you for bringing this up, Chuck. However, one major difference is what's there now is a conventional septic system. What we're going to be putting in because of the proximity to the nearby wetlands is a much more advanced pre-treatment septic system to clean the effluent before it goes out to the leach field. We are also proposing an temporary access roadway be constructed off of the side of the current driveway so that the construction vehicles can get in and get out, and then that roadway will be removed at the completion of construction. The work zone is generally a level area, and then it tapers down towards the stream and the wetlands. We've surrounded the work zone with an erosion control barrier. In terms of resource area, on the left-hand side is the stream and the associated vegetated wetland that's part of it. And in your package was an alternatives analysis for this because we are in riverfront. In fact, the whole property is in riverfront area. So that's what we have.
Okay, thank you. First up, I'll open up for public comment. Does anybody in the public wish to speak for or against the project at 179 Hesperus Avenue? If so, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 18 attendees present, and I'm not seeing any hands up.
Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Now we go into commissioner roll call comments.
Member Charpentier,
Very straightforward, no comments.
Member Cook,
No comments.
Member Gradwell,
No comment.
Member Sergeant,
No comment.
Member Sherman,
No comment.
Member Gullo,
No comment.
and Member Jackson.
We have an alternative analysis we have to vote on.
Isn't this back to that original issue with the graded sites or no?
It's in Riverfront and they have provided an alternatives analysis.
All right, well, then might as well vote on it. I don't want to.
Yeah. Mr. Gola, the other one was 181, not 179.
Oh, okay. I'm confusing. Okay.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the alternatives analysis for NOI 0282908 at 179 Hesperus Avenue.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Gradwell,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gullo,
Thanks, Barry. Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Thanks, Angel, for picking up on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Now
So
we
if there are no other comments, you want me to go ahead and close the public hearing?
Please do.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282908 at 179 Hesperus Avenue.
Okay, second,
Linda?
Charpentier seconds.
Gradwell seconds.
Okay. Don't everybody jump at once.
roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gullo,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282908 at 179 Hesperus Avenue.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Gradwell,
Yes.
Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Sherman,
Yes.
Member Gullo,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, sir, you're all set.
Thank you for your time this evening, Commissioners. Greatly appreciate it.
All righty. So next up is notice of intent 028, no DEP number. Did one drop, Chuck, or no?
I checked earlier and they still did not have one, so.
So so we're reviewing NOI 028, no DEP number 159 and 169A East Main Street, Phil Dunn of NSD Real Estate LLC, construction of a parking area, patio, and building renovations in a land subject to coastal storm flowage. Anthony Capichetti of Hayes Engineering representing.
I'm not seeing him, but Libby Wallace is here, I believe, to
Okay.
speak to the project. We're promoting her now.
Hello? There she is. Elizabeth? Elizabeth? There she
Sorry
is.
about that. Good evening. Elizabeth Wallace of Hayes Engineering. The project before you is at, spans two properties, 159 and 169A East Main Street. If I may share my screen, we can further discuss this. All right, can you all see this aerial photo?
Yep.
Okay, just to orient yourself, this is East Main Street. The building on our property is a dentist business. It is a two-story building. Next to it is an entrance, which is a city-owned utility easement. Just about the entire property this one on the building and the property in the rear, right along the ocean edge, is paved. Right now, the pavement is all cracked and in very poor condition. The project is to renovate the existing building into a mixed-use building with resident on top and commercial use on the first floor. I will share my screen again. All right. Can you guys see the map?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
All right. All right. Sorry about that. This is the plan.
Okay. Now we got it.
All right. Great. So the project is to renovate the existing building. The existing building will stay, but be renovated to have residential and commercial uses. And the rest of the project is to reconfigure and reconstruct the paved areas to have a ADA compliant parking lot in association with the building. Basically, the city-owned utility easement will be retained, and 5 spaces will be created on the north side of the utility easement, and 3 spaces will be created on the south side of the easement. There will be areas where pavement is removed, particularly at the top and the bottom of the properties. These areas will be turned into lawn and impervious, pervious landscaped areas. The project will result in a net decrease in impervious area. The project itself will affect the land subject to coastal storm flowage, of which most of the property is within. We show an elevation of elevation 14, which is pretty much the entire property. And the project will increase aesthetics, improve site conditions, and make the property usable. With that said, I hand it back to the commission for comments or questions.
Okay. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you so much.
So next up would be, we do public comment. Is there anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against at the project at 159 and 169 East Main Street? If so, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 2 hands up. The first is Phil Dunn.
Okay. Mr. Dunn?
Hello, my name is Phil Dunn. I'm the project manager for this project. I work for NST Real Estate. Offices are at 159 East Main Street. Just to add to what Libby was talking about there, and thank you, Libby, for describing the project. But in order for us to be ADA compliant, we have to raise the grade as well. So just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. We do have zoning board approval already pending a lot line adjustment, so we're increasing the overall square footage of the property by 2,700 square feet. Again, necessary to allow us for the ADA to be ADA compliant for the parking being mixed use. There's common ownership there in the property, and so we're pending that lot line adjustment between common ownership.
Okay, sir, anything else? You still there, Mr. Dunn?
Yeah, no, I just wanted to make sure you got some of those details.
Okay, I'm not sure if I got your name and address for the record. Just say it again, please.
Yeah, for the record, my name is Phil Dunn.
Yeah.
I'm project manager for NST Real Estate, offices at 159 East Main Street.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, next up, there's someone else, I guess, with their hand up.
Yes, Alicia Dahi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. I'm just wondering a few questions on who is NSDJ Real Estate? Who are the agents or
There are
managers
some
of this
entities, we
business?
don't really get into what the entity is. They're an entity that owns either this land or is working for the owner of the land.
Okay, because I was just curious if David Hines, Sean Hines, Nick Osgood, and James Montanino were the owners of this property.
We only go by what the filing puts in front of us. We really don't get into the deep of the other partners or people that maybe it's based on the lot and the owner of the lot.
Okay,
The owner right now is either this construction company, Mr. Dunn's, or somebody similar. But that, we don't get into that aspect. We're here to determine if the project is going to impact the resource. Anything else, Alicia?
no, I was just concerned about the amount of pavement going in by the ocean and wondering what the runoff of chemicals would be with oil,
Question.
pesticides, herbicides, etc.
Excellent. Excellent question. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, commissioners, with that, I don't see any other hands up.
Phil had re-raised his hand. I didn't know if you wanted to allow him to.
Who?
Phil Dunn.
Bill, are you still trying to get back? I don't, it looks like he dropped off.
Okay.
Okay, so seeing none, hearing none, I'm going to close public comment period. Why don't we go to commissioner roll call comments, please?
Okay. Member Charpentier,
None at this time.
Member Cook,
I guess the only questions I have, it involves the additional 5 parking spots and the proposed retaining wall that we're going to be building across there. Is the intent to level that? Because right now the drainage goes from 15 down to 10 and continues down. By putting the retaining walls where the 5 lots are going to be, we're basically going to be channeling the majority of any type of runoff towards the neighbors or anything. So I don't know if the city engineers have looked at this yet. So I'm not sure how that's being mitigated. There doesn't seem to be anything to address any of the runoff or anything associated with leveling and changing the grading within these parking areas.
Good question, Joe. Good question, Bill. Elizabeth, we're going to go through all the comments first, and then you can answer them one by one.
Okay,
Member Gradwell,
No further comment.
Member Sargent,
I'm wondering if there's a coastal bank associated with this property and if this project might be in a buffer zone.
Member Sherman,
No additional comments.
Member Villa,
It's a little hard to read for me, even though I read drawings pretty well. I think I'd like to, in this particular case, if the applicant wouldn't mind, I'd like to continue this so I could get out there and take a look at the site if possible. And I have no further comments on that.
Member Jackson?
My comments echo those of previous commissioners in terms of how the runoff is going to be handled and the landscape areas. It does make sense to consider organic pesticides and fertilizers only.
Okay, so I guess where we're left at is, at least for myself anyways, there's a couple of questions there if you want to try and answer, Elizabeth. We're
I
worried
actually-
about some materials being used back there. We're concerned about a coastal bank. We're concerned about runoff direction and where it's all going to go and how it's going to be managed. So those were kind of the headline questions we have.
I actually think it's a good idea for the commission to have a site visit. That might be the best way to answer some of the questions.
Okay, great.
So just to make sure that our engineer is there. Mr. Capichetti couldn't make it this evening, but I'm sure he could go through all the drainage questions with you if you so wish to make a site visit.
Yeah, that'd be great. So why don't we move to continue to for 2 weeks, if that's okay, so we can get out there and Chuck will make, I guess, should we contact Mr. Capichetti for the site walk or you?
Could you please do it through me, please?
Sure. Chuck, make sure you issue it to Elizabeth. Okay, then we're gonna move you to the 15th.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028 unassigned DEP number 159 and 169A East Main Street to the Conservation Commission meeting of March 15th, 2023.
Charpentier second?
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook?
Yes.
Member Gradwell?
Yes,
Member Sergeant?
Yes.
Member Sherman?
Yes.
Member Gullah?
Yes.
Member Jackson?
Yes.
I just noticed we don't have a DEP number. We would have had to continue it anyways. So.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. We'll be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Have a good night.
Libby, are you also going to speak about 337 Concord tonight as well?
Yes, I'm going to be present. I believe we sent over a response to DB comments, and I'm sure you have not had a chance to read it over. I'm happy to address any questions you have, or at least take them down for answering at the next hearing, if you wish.
Well, I think, why don't we focus on the other project, but I think that's gonna take a deeper dive for all the commissioners to get the new comments out. I mean, to review them all, so I would suggest we continue that as well at this late hour as well. We've gone through a lot of projects and we still have more to go. So if that's okay with you, Elizabeth, we'd like to bump it as well.
That would work very well. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282900 at 337 Concord Street to the Conservation Commission meeting of March 15th, 2023.
Ms. Charpentier second?
Roll call, Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook?
Yes.
Member Gradwell?
yes,
Member Sergeant?
Yes.
Member Sherman?
Yes.
Member Gullah?
Yes.
Member Jackson?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to recuse from the next hearing, so I'm shutting off my mic and my, I can't shut it off. Why can't I shut it off? There we go. I can't shut my mic off, Chuck.
Really? I'll mute you.
Okay, next up is NOI 028 with an unassigned DEP number at 40 Thurston Point. James and Linda Hemme, and demolition of existing dwelling and construction of single-family home in riverfront area, buffer zone to coastal resource area, and land subject to coastal storm flowage, represented by John Dick.
He should be promoting now to panelists.
How's that?
Yep, we can hear you. And there you are. All right.
And there's my ugly face, yes. I think I can screen share. I'd like to show you a couple of plans and then give you some numbers. Oh, mercy, here we go. Look at that. I've got the plan and I've got your pictures. Can you hear me?
We can.
Wonderful. This is actually a pretty simple plan. The heart of this really is the landscaping. So I'll talk about the house footprint because it's a little clearer here, and then I'm going to go to the landscaping plan. We have an existing dwelling right about in the middle of the lot at 40 Thurston Point. And essentially, they're taking a house which is now more or less parallel to the contours, and they're rendering it somewhat larger. When I say somewhat larger, I mean about 1,000 square feet larger. And they're rotating it slightly so that it is closer to parallel to the property lines. It's within the same footprint. The reasoning here is twofold. One is that by building within the footprint of the older house, you have a smaller increment of disturbance, and you have a situation on this particular site where there's an existing garage just landward of the property. So there's nothing to be gained by moving the house away from the riverfront. We are pretty much in the center of the disturbed area on the site as it is, and moving the thing further not only raises the house higher up in the air, raising issues of building height, but it also increases the level of disturbance. So that said, I'm going to jump to the landscaping plan now, and I hope I can do that a little more efficiently. Okay, now here you can sort of dimly see the outline of the existing dwelling within the footprint of the proposed dwelling. And you can see an awful lot of landscaping surrounding the dwelling. There is landscaping. There are low, dry laid retaining walls. They are basically boulder layers, not anything that you couldn't jump off of. They're not 6 or 5 foot high walls. They're more like 1 or 2 foot high walls. The amount of landscaping shown on this plan is laid out. I believe it's laid out somewhere on the plan. No, it's not. No, it's not. I have a table of areas. The amount of landscaping on this plan, the colored areas shown here, accrue to 2,800 square feet. It is predominantly native plantings. It is largely within existing lawn. There are some existing trees and landscaping on the property. You'll notice there's a perimeter hedge along the northerly boundary of the property and another perimeter hedge along the southerly boundary of the property. Those are your typical sort of landscape plantings of choice, mostly privet. I believe there is some, might be some lilac in there too, I'm not sure. But those pretty much are being left alone because we make our numbers with the 2,800. As I mentioned before, the change in house footprint amounts to 1,013 square feet. Up here along the existing driveway, right up here in between the cars, there is an incremental widening of the turnout so that cars can pass and repass and get in and out of the site. And that amounts to 312 or 302 square feet. So the total impervious footprint increase on this site amounts to 1,315 square feet. The landscaping, 2,800. The ratio here is 1 to 2.2. And I would argue as well that they are proposing, it's difficult to see, but I'll point to them. There's a leaching pit with a question mark up here on the north side of the property. There's another leaching pit with a question mark down here next to the patio at the end of the landscaped area. Those seem to be accessible for conventional concrete leaching pits, buried pits, and the discharge from the roof will be directed to whichever or both of those pits actually proves to be functional. It may well be that those leaching pits are not particularly functional and that the runoff from the roof would not be 100% recharged. But in consideration of that, I'm prepared to argue that the changes of grade with the landscaping flatten the site somewhat. The existing lawn behind the house is fairly steep, and these low retaining walls and plantings would serve to reduce surface runoff if there is surface runoff. That's the heart of the argument, really. We've got more than twice the compensatory landscaping in existing lawn, and we've got a footprint that is as far from the riverfront area as we can manage for it to be. I should point out the riverfront area comes up along the eastern side of the garage across the existing driveway. And that's, of course, driven by mean high water in the Annisquam River. The coastal bank is up in the lawn. It's on a relatively level portion of the lawn down low, and it's elevation 13. And the land subject to coastal storm flowage and coastal bank coincide here. The actual coastal bank would be a rather steeper transition, rocky intertidal shore and beach down by the existing landing. That concludes my presentation. If you've got any questions, if the neighbors have any questions, I'm happy to respond. And then I understand we have to continue this.
We do, and we will go through public comment and then commissioner comments. And if you could kind of jot down the comments and respond at the end of them all, we'd appreciate it.
You bet.
So I'm going to open it up for public comment now. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to comment on the project at 40 Thurston Point?
Sorry, it's muted. We currently have 11 attendees and there are no hands up.
Okay, I'll close the public comment period. We'll go through commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier,
Not at this time.
Member Cook,
No comments.
Member Gradwell,
The new stone walls that are going in, they don't seem to be added to the impervious area.
I'll respond at the end. Yeah.
Member Sargent,
I noticed you said not all of the vegetation is native vegetation. I'm wondering what that percentage is and what that other plantings may be. Are they good for wildlife habitat or not?
Member Sherman,
Mr. Dick stated that the home would be placed in the footprint or pretty much the same footprint so as to not disturb any more of the site, but it seems to me that the house could be sited further away from the resource. There is disturbed parts of the site further away from the resource and I'm sure where the present house site is could be remediated to as they're doing so much planting anyway. It seems maybe with the existing house site could be remediated to create better wildlife habitat than exists right now.
and Member Jackson.
I would be concerned that moving it further would disturb much more of the site. But my biggest question is, I can see why this could be considered redevelopment, but Chuck, you sent us something a little bit ago about redevelopment and riverfront, and if it expands, is it considered new? I just tried to find what you sent us and I couldn't find it.
No, so basically, any parcel that already has development in the riverfront area is considered degraded, and therefore this would be redevelopment, not new.
Okay. Okay. I thought there was something about if they expanded it into new areas that it became new development.
If it expanded into riverfront that didn't previously have any development in it, then that portion would be treated as new. But this already has existing degraded areas within the riverfront area. So
Okay. All right. Good. That makes life easier. Okay. Mr. Dick, would you like to respond to the comments, please?
Will do what I can.
Okay.
As to the stone walls, I think I mentioned they're dry laid. This site is peppered with ledge and, well, I don't know whether it's ledge or it's random stones. I suspect it's random stones sitting on ledge. The reason I'm ambivalent about saying anything about recharge is that there is probably the possibility of some recharge on this site, but it's unknowable. We have not yet done any excavation on the site. That would be part of the notice of intent, in effect, is to investigate those two leaching areas and other alternatives. That being the case, the stone walls are no more or less pervious than the existing ledge outcrops on the site, and they do effect leveling of the site rather than what amounts to a close to 10 or 12% slope on parts of the lawn. We would be reducing the slope to perhaps 4%, maybe even 2% in some areas, as well as adding roughening surfaces, and that goes to the landscaping. The predominance of the shrubs proposed for this site are natives. The predominance of the perennials proposed for the site are also natives, but there are some ornamental perennials that, while they provide pollinator habitat, while they provide butterfly, moth, larval feeding stations, they aren't, strictly speaking, native species. However, the proportion is, I would estimate 80% of the landscaping is native in nature. All of it has habitat value. All of it has roughness coefficient. All of it has robust root systems that will stabilize the soils. And I would argue all of it, native or non-indigenous, is a great improvement over a lawn. That's what I've got right now. I won't speak to the redevelopment issue because I'm in complete agreement with the analysis that was already made. More remote house siting, I have argued in my narrative, simply relocates the disturbance to another area of the site. And I'd be concerned that because there's an existing foundation, because there's an existing dwelling, it would be nice to be able to get more vegetation between the water and the house site, of course. It would be nice to get entirely outside of the inner riparian zone if we could do it. But the proximity of that garage and the building height requirements for a two-story dwelling mitigate against that. We really don't want to move this thing up into people's view sheds. There are a lot of folks out there who look over and past this house to the water, and I would expect them to be a little upset about that. And I don't see the benefit in digging another foundation hole somewhere else on the site when we have 3/4 of the hole already there with an existing house on top of it. And that was my friend Ruthie, who agrees with all my arguments. That said, I realize we don't have a file number. I can't make DEP do what DEP doesn't want to do. So I guess we have to kick this down the street.
Okay, you want to try for March 15th?
I sure do.
Should
Okay.
we do an alternative analysis, vote on that, or?
There is an
Mm.
alternatives analysis if you want to vote on it.
There is?
Yes, it's I think it's the next to last paragraph in my narrative.
Oh, okay. If it's redevelopment, we don't have to, but,
And that's basically the argument, is that since
Yeah,
we were
okay.
putting it on top of an existing house.
okay. All right, why don't we, Linda, would you like to make a motion to approve the alternatives analysis?
Charpentier moves to approve with alternative analysis.
Hard to hear you.
Charpentier moves to, getting tired here. Charpentier
Yep.
moves to approve NOI 028, no DEP number. The alternatives analysis for 40 Thurston Point.
Barry?
Gradwell seconds.
Roll call, Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
Yes,
Member Gradwell,
Yes,
Member Sergeant,
Yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes,
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, and we will move, Linda, would you like to move to continue
Yep.
to March 15th?
yep. The Charpentier moves to continue NOI 028 at 40 Thurston Point to the meeting of March 15th.
Gradwell seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
yes,
Member Gradwell,
Yes,
Member Sergeant,
yes,
Sherman,
yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Hey, thank you, Mr. Dick. All right.
And good night.
Has Rob, you too, has Rob returned?
I think he went to bed.
I don't blame him.
yeah, let's just move these along.
Yeah, okay, certificates of compliance, 2 requests, one at 21 Wingersheek Road, one at 7 Pebble Path Road. Chuck?
For my visits, both of those are good to go.
Okay. Linda, would you like to move the 2 of them at one time?
Yep, Charpentier moves to approve RCOC 0282738 at 21 Wingersheek Road and RCOC 0282700 at 7 Pebble Path Road.
and Gradwell seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
yes,
Member Gradwell,
Yes,
Member Sergeant,
yes,
Member Sherman,
Yes,
and I guess Member Jackson.
Yes. And Rob still isn't back?
no, he's still sleeping.
Okay.
keep going.
Rob not there.
Prompted him to start video and, yeah, I'm not sure. He's having trouble before I muted him and turned off his camera, so maybe he's,
So no one can see him hiding. All right. Do we have any updates on the violation?
we did have a plan submitted for 18 Quarry Road. Let's see. I believe Jeff is here.
Hello, committee.
Hello. Would you like to tell us about your plan?
Yes, ma'am.
And name and address for the record, sir? Sorry.
Yes, my name is Jeffrey Pittman, 18C, 18 Corey Street, Gloucester, Massachusetts. Let's see. The plan basically was to just reuse the granite blocking slabs and rebuild the wall that's been collapsed. Plant some grass along the banking. I'm going to get 8 low bush blueberries and stagger those along the banking. Plant some pink tick seed. There's a tree on the left side. I'd like to trim some, I think 4 limbs off of that. I'd also like to bring in some 3 inches of black loam to plant some Kentucky bluegrass because there's really no grass there at all. There's an oil shed there that I'd like to rebuild. That's pretty much collapsed. and I'd like to move that over 3 feet. Right now it's 11 by 9, and I'd like to make it 12 by 10 and just move it over 3 feet. There was some stairs there that were all collapsed and dilapidated. I took away, so I'd like to put a deck there. That's 10 feet by 14 feet. It's going to be supported by 4x4s. I can put that on some cinder blocks, solid cinder blocks. That way I don't go into the ground. And the knee wall needs to be rebuilt in the back, which consists of basically just a knee wall, which is 3 feet by 50 feet, which will have just made out of pressure treated 2x4s. That'll be 16 on center and just covered with plywood. And that would be it.
Okay, thank you. Let's have commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier?
Did I hear a new deck was going in?
Yes, to replace the stairs that were collapsed.
I just,
The stairs were collapsed.
I understand, but this is a construction of a new deck.
Correct. To replace the stairs.
Got it.
Member Cook?
I need to recuse on this one.
Member Gradwell?
I think that he's gonna make a filing, for at least for an RDA for the, replacement. He's doing new construction.
Member Sargent?
I was expecting how to deal with previous violations rather than how not to file for a NOI or RDA.
Member Sherman?
I agree. There seems like there's a lot of remediation needs to be done from the violations that already occur on the site before any new construction should begin. And as Member Gradwell, I believe this would require at least an RDA and perhaps an NOI.
And Member Gullah, I don't know if you're able to hear us.
I'm back.
Okay, would you like to comment on this, Rob?
No, I'm good. I think I got hacked. Remember they did something squirrely early on? Everything just locked up, so I had to restart everything.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, I echo some of the previous comments. It sounds like you're moving a shed and expanding it and adding a deck, which I suspect may take up more impervious surface than the collapsed stairs, and putting in a knee wall. And that really is all kind of new construction as opposed to the bushes and the bluegrass, which would be more towards rectification of the violation. So I think we kind of need to look at this in two parts. I think you need to resubmit a plan which atones for the violations, which you've made a great start on. But then I think you also need to do, I would think an RDA would be okay for this. Do you know what an RDA is, sir?
No, I do not.
Okay, there are basically two kinds of applications. A request for determination of applicability asks us to look at your plans for the new construction, basically, and see whether we feel it's going to have a negative impact on the resources. That would include, if you decide to file that you would want to provide some mitigation in the form of native plantings, usually near the resource area, for any additional impervious surface that you're adding. So if the deck is larger than the surface of the stairs, that would require mitigation. And you're in, okay, filling risk BVW, okay. Is this riverfront?
It's,
No.
No, okay. And the other application, a notice of intent, is a longer application and involves more detail. You're kind of on the edge of these. And I think I'd probably try the RDA, the shorter form, that does carry the risk of the commissioners saying they need more detail and you having to go back and file the longer one anyway. But we've done a lot of the shorter forms tonight. And if you provide enough information, that would bode better for you.
Okay.
Okay, so it's really kind of, you're going after two things here. You're going after the rectification of the violation and you're going after the new things that you're doing.
Okay.
Okay,
And
but go ahead.
just to let you know, I'm in close contact with Corliss over in Ipswich, and none of these plants have come in yet. So they're due to come in towards the end of March. So I'm on the slate for that.
Oh, that's great. Could you check with them? You mentioned trimming the limbs, 4 limbs on a tree.
Yes.
What is the issue with the limbs?
They just overhang, and I'd like to get a little more light in there just to make everything else grow. You know, everything else grow a little bit better.
Okay, would you just take a picture of the tree and ask Corliss for their comments on the limbs that are being taken down so that you can ensure that there is absolutely no harm to that tree?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that commissioners would like for him to do? Should we
Oh,
go
I
back
would-
to the?
I
Go
would
ahead,
just like
Bob.
I would like to make it clear that no new construction should begin without the filing of it, at least at RDA. It sounds like, you know, there were violations here, and there could perhaps be more violations down the road if this new deck is built and a bigger shed is put in place. I just want to remind the commissioners, this is I'm sure Chuck knows that this is in very close proximity, right on the bank of a perennial stream that runs behind this property.
I have that it's an intermittent stream.
so it's intermittent, and it's an interesting area because the way the act is written, the water comes out of a quarry upstream and it's upstream of a wetland. So because of those two resources, an intermittent stream in both of those locations is not jurisdictional according to the Wetlands Protection Act.
Wow.
So yeah, so it's a confusing part. I went through it several times. So therefore, the jurisdiction there is the buffer zone to the quarry that is downstream in that wetland that's around it. But the bank itself, the channel itself, is not jurisdictional, and it is an intermittent stream at that point. So it's
And Mr. Pittman, if you have any questions on this process, please talk with the agent.
Yes, I plan on making a visit down there this morning, and I just want to remind the committee the whole reason why I'm here is because I took down the dilapidated shed which was out back. So that's why I'm here. It's just trying to improve the property.
And I think you're stepping in the right direction for that. We appreciate your efforts, and I hate to require more paperwork, but.
No, that's not a problem. So
Okay.
I'll head down there tomorrow morning and get those forms and fill that out and try to give you as much information as I possibly can, and then we'll wait for the next meeting and see how that goes.
Okay, is there anything else that any of the commissioners want to say before we send him off?
Is this Quarry Road or Quarry Street?
Quarry Street.
Right.
Okay, then we will plan to see you in maybe a couple of weeks
Yes, ma'am.
for an update. That'd be great. And we'll just expect an update then. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
You too. Bye-bye now.
Good day.
Okay, we done?
So, and I could hear you guys saying I went to bed and blah, blah, blah. I wasn't going to bed. I didn't go to bed. I couldn't get the stupid.
I was just getting back at you for,
What, for your
being a
47
traitor earlier.
for your 47 mutes?
Are we good here?
I think we
I
are.
think so. How about a motion to adjourn?
I have
Secretary?
one question. I have one item I'd like to bring up before that.
Mhm.
When I went in to sign the paperwork, it seemed to be a lot of paperwork to sign. And I asked Chuck about it, and he says, well, some of it is for the stuff for this current meeting, meaning tonight. Previous, well, I disagree that it is just by form to file these. What we're doing is that we are making a legal document that we have observed the voting, whether we agree or disagree, we have observed the voting and are signing that we agree with the determination. Previously with our agent, she put out a agenda that showed which ones were passed and which ones weren't, so that we could compare the numbers, the RDA or NOI number. Now we would have to be cognizant of what the number was that we were signing for, so that we would be assured not to be signing for something that we had recused ourselves from, which people like Mr. Gullah does frequently, and which as soon as we start doing more in-person meetings, we'll be doing this a lot more, because people who aren't in the area won't be able to communicate.
Okay. Thank you for that. You're right. We need to tighten up. If there is a loose, any kind of issues with it, we should tighten that up. Double check it, Chuck, and make sure we're not accidentally signing things we shouldn't and should. I was in with Chuck a while ago reviewing something, and we went over that briefly, but thank you, Barry, for a more detailed discussion on it.
Yeah, I'll double check with the circuit rider and make sure, but it's my understanding that it is a ministerial act by signing them, and that you're not signing that you're for or against. You're just signing as a member of the commission that these are the orders and conditions for a specific project. But I will double check with her and make sure.
Thank you.
Okay, did we adjourn?
Not yet.
Charpentier moves to adjourn.
I thought that was just halftime.
Bradwell seconds.
Good night.
Roll call. Member
Good
Charpentier.
night, all.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Gradwell.
Yeah.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Sherman.
Yes.
Member Gullah.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
All right.
Well
Good night,
done,
everyone.
everybody. See you
Good
next
night.
Everybody
Good
take
night,
care.
all. You too.